What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It is I, your host as always, Adam Perez, certainly coming through once again with a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, movies, and TV news right here, streaming live over on our YouTube page, also streaming live over on Facebook as well as Twitch for you gamers out there, guys. So thank you very much for certainly coming through, wrapping up the weekend with us as it is in fact Sunday afternoon out here in Fort Worth, Texas. A little overcast. I think we might get ourselves some showers tonight. I think we're definitely expecting some rain. Me and the girlfriend and our little boy definitely enjoyed the weekend yesterday. I think we had a opportunity to go out to a festival that they wind up having out here in the Fort Worth area. Fantastic time as always. Get an opportunity to check out some art, some live music, some fantastic food. So it's been a good weekend, and hopefully you guys have definitely had one as well. So a lot to certainly get into today, guys. You guys know how we do and operate around here. If this is your first time joining us, we got honorable mentions right off the top, some topics that didn't quite make the cut, but certainly think you deserve to know. We got 6 topics we're going to be breaking down for you guys today, and then of course your live viewer questions. If you do have any live viewer questions, you can submit them at any time during the week if you'd like to. aplusopinions@gmail.com. Again, submit them to aplusopinions@gmail.com. If you read a news article, a theory, a speculation, you watch a television show or a movie you want to further go ahead and talk about, let your thoughts be known. Certainly go ahead and submit your questions over to us at aplusopinions@gmail.com. And of course, feel free to let us know your thoughts in the live chat, guys. Any particular articles that we talk about, if you want to go ahead and certainly voice your opinion, have some thoughts in regards to it, let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below after this video airs. And every once in a while, we'll definitely jump into the live chat and talk it up with you guys today. And so even though we don't have ourselves the full crew today, we are in fact coming through with our fellow co-host as always. Good old Stuart Branscome's in the house. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you, man.
Hey, good to be back. Sorry I couldn't make it last weekend, but I'm glad to be here this weekend for sure.
It's good to see you, man. It's good to see you. We missed you last weekend. I know me and Indy were like, "Where's we need to get Stuart back here as soon as possible." So I'm glad we were you're able to be here, man. Indy unfortunately is not here. He did certainly have an emergency he had to definitely go ahead and take care of in regards to his health. He did reach out to us as of yesterday to let us know he may not necessarily be on the show today, but we'll see if Indy pops up maybe in the live chat or something like that. So even though Indy certainly could not be here today, definitely keep him in your best wishes for sure and prayers, and hopefully that he recovers soon.
Yeah, definitely.
What you been up to this week, Stuart? You got anything good going on in your life, man?
This last week, not much, but the week I wasn't able to make it, I went to New Jersey for a wedding, and
Nice.
I finally got to visit Jay and Silent Bob's secret stash, which was really awesome. They have like a ton of props from like all the different Kevin Smith movies that are, of course, hanging out on display. A lot of really cool like statues that are kind of recreations from different movies.
Okay.
Like they got the ship monster from Dogma. They got the walrus from Tusk and everything like that. It was really cool to finally get to go visit there. And then, oh man, I should have wore it, but I even got to get like a Jay and Silent Bob Secret Stash sweatshirt. That's actually really comfortable.
Nice. That's pretty cool, man. Yeah, I do remember seeing you posting some pictures. I was so jealous. Is that that's the comic book shop from Comic Book Guys? They're Comic Book Men.
Yep.
Didn't they have the AMC series show a while back?
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool, man. I remember you talking about it a while, and so that's cool that you got the opportunity to finally see it, man. That's pretty neat.
Although I think the store that I went to is different from the one that was on the show, because I think they moved locations after a while. So I think that was from their previous location.
Oh, okay. Not too bad, though. But still, man, that's anytime you get to see some cool memorabilia, go and visit somebody's store that's super popular like that, that's got to be pretty awesome, man. So I'm glad you had yourself a pretty good time. I would like to try and come out to Cali here sometime this year if possible. I was going to try and attempt to check out Star Wars Celebration, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get my press pass, and I believe that's like next month in May, if I'm not mistaken. So that might be too quick of a turnaround for me to have to get tickets and a plane ticket. So I think my next endeavor to try and make it out to Cali might be Power Morphicon this upcoming August, if everything goes well. I'm trying to get press passes there also. I have had problems in the past, so I may have to try and actually get tickets, but the next Power Morphicon's out in August, so that might be my next trip out in Cali. Would you recommend I try and check it out if I ever get out there, Stuart?
I'm getting my tickets today for Morphicon if they're still available. So if you're going, then I'll definitely be there for sure.
Okay,
in fact,
I'll let you know for sure.
I even got a costume yesterday. I got
Hey.
a Captain Marvelous pirate jacket and
Yes.
the vest
Is
as
it
well.
is it look good? I mean, like, is it look like Party City caliber, or does it look like a pretty nice jacket?
It looks medium tier,
Medium?
which
Okay,
is
okay.
good because
I'll
that's
take
what
it.
it kind of looks like in the show. So I
Mhm.
think it matches pretty well. I'm not sure though because all I got are the online pictures that the person on eBay was posting of it. So for all I know, maybe he's just an incredible photographer, and the actual jacket looks like shit. But
Yeah, it's all
I'll
about
find
angles,
out.
man. All about angles with those photos. You never know.
Exactly.
But that's cool, man.
Angles and lighting, definitely.
Exactly. But yeah, maybe hopefully I'll get the opportunity to have the both of us attend Power Morphicon this year. We'll definitely go ahead and keep you guys posted. Just a quick bit of information for you guys also. In regards to what I've been doing this past week, I actually did have the fantastic opportunity to sit down with a gentleman by the name of Matt Aguilar. For those of you who may know his name, you certainly may not. He actually works over at comicbook.com, that usually works in the section that handles any Power Ranger content, if you will. Usually will write fantastic articles, exclusive reveals that Hasbro and stuff winds up giving him. But Matt actually reached out to me last week, I believe, asking if he wanted to go ahead and collaborate to go ahead and talk some Power Rangers. So this past Thursday, him, myself, and his co-host Nick went ahead and actually did a little bit of a Power Ranger podcast that Matt has of his own YouTube channel called The Putty Hour. If you guys want to go ahead and hear me and him talk some Power Rangers, I would definitely recommend you guys go ahead and check it out. Again, it's on YouTube. It's The Putty Hour. I'll go ahead and bring this up for you guys. We're literally the very first one up here. The Power Rangers, The Putty Hour, Season 2, Episode 6, Billy Returns. We talked about the fan first backlash, the Boom Studios charge to 100, along with the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers as well, and the return of Billy. So about an hour or so conversation. So if you guys want to go ahead and check it out, again, it's The Putty Hour. I did go ahead and put a link in the description box below. So definitely go ahead and check it out. See what me, Matt, and Nick certainly talked about. It was a fun little time, man. And for me, I thought it was just pretty cool the fact that somebody from comicbook.com actually reached out to us to want to talk Power Rangers, Stuart. You know what I mean? So I was all over that opportunity to collaborate.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I got it saved on my phone now, so hopefully I'll have a chance to listen to it later today.
Yeah, man. You Power Ranger fans get the opportunity to double dip in some Power Ranger talk today from the Putty Hour and A Plus more phenomenal that we had this past weekend. But all right, guys. Other than that, I believe Indy is in the live chat. See, there goes Indy. Says, hello, fellas. Good to see you, man. Hopefully you're doing well, buddy. But Stuart, I think it's time for us to get into some honorable mentions, man. You ready to go ahead and kick off this week's episode?
Definitely. Although my honorable mention is something that you already brought up from your
Go for it.
Morphicon, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Or more phenomenal, sorry. But that is the Shin Ultraman movie. I just saw the newest trailer that they released for it, and wow, it looks incredible. It looks really well shot, and it looks expensive as hell. So I'm really excited for this movie. I love visually what they're going for. It feels like they go for those kind of style. It feels like they go for kind of the classic angles, but it's more stylized this time rather than it being those angles because it was a cheaper show. You know what I mean? I love it though, and I cannot wait for this movie to come out.
Were you the one that introduced me to Shin Godzilla?
I think so.
Did you mention it?
Yeah, I remember that was definitely a movie that I probably was like, dude, if you haven't seen it, you got to check this out.
and I definitely watched it, and ever since then I've been bragging about it to everybody to go ahead and certainly check it out. But yeah, it's very much from the same director, very much I would assume in that same universe. I don't know if the worlds are connected or not, but I do know that they have been talking about putting together a Shin universe. I don't know if we're ever going to have a massive crossover like that, but they seem to be very much surrounding the same things, taking these characters from the 60s or whenever they originally debuted, and very much modernizing them for today's audiences and sort of putting that situation in a very much more present time. And I've really loved the way that they've been tackling it, Stuart. So yeah, Shin Godzilla really impressed me, and Shin Ultraman is looking like it's getting ready to impress also. So I'm glad that you wind up bringing that up.
You know why I think that's actually a possibility, the idea of them all being in a connected universe? Because Marvel movies and the American Godzilla movies have actually been selling really good in Japan. So I wonder if they're kind of like thinking, all right, so if these American movies can sell this well, what happens if, we decide to do our own like cinematic universe like that?
That would be pretty interesting. I would definitely love to check that out. Give me an Ultraman versus Godzilla one day.
Oh
Yeah, man, I'd eat that up. Couple other quick honorable mentions we'll go through here real quick, Stuart. Fast and the Furious back in the news here this week. We officially got our very first logo. The logo design has in fact been revealed. Fast X is going to be the name of this. I'm assuming the penultimate film. There may be one more coming after this. We'll definitely see. But we did get ourselves not only a new poster, but a new logo. What do you think of the logo? I kind of dig it's simple enough, but I kind of dig it.
Yeah, I think simple, but that's also a good thing in the case of this. And I love because the logo is so like kind of iconic for Fast and Furious. The moment you see Fast and that kind of font, you kind of know exactly what it is that it's for. And then I think instead of saying Fast 10, I think X is just kind of like a better title. Although it kind of makes me wonder, are we going to get like a slow reveal? Like maybe is the poster going to zoom out and then we're eventually going to see 3 X's revealing that this is actually going to be a Fast and Furious triple X crossover?
I love it, man. I love it. That would be like Don Toretto playing 2 characters in here secretly. That'd be pretty interesting to see. I do love also the fact that the X is the headlight of a car. Also, I kind of dig the idea of how they managed putting that X together. So yeah, I absolutely love it. But yeah, guys, let us go ahead and know your thoughts and your anticipation level for this. We also got ourselves a brand new poster also for Miss Marvel, set to go ahead and debut June 8th, ladies and gentlemen. So mark your calendars, June 8th. It will certainly be here. But I love this poster for Miss Marvel. I've been really impressed. The trailers that we've seen so far really sucked me in, loving the tone and the vibe that they're certainly trying to set. And you give me such a very fantastic, just colorful and artful poster like this. Definitely fits the vibes in the culture of Miss Marvel, and I'm loving it, man. I'm really hoping that the rest of the promotional marketing pieces look as good as this one. What do you think about this poster, though, Stuart?
Yeah, I think the poster is very creative, especially given like the kind of more generic Marvel posters that we've been used to. It's really refreshing to see something like this. And the coolest thing is, it looks like a collage that was actually made by a high schooler. And I know that may sound like an insult. I do not mean that as an insult.
Yeah.
I actually think that works really well for the type of show that this is going to be. And yeah, like you said, like all the trailers we've gotten for it, it looks really impressive. So I'm excited for when this comes out. It feels like Stargirl, but like in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, it very much does feel like that also. Let me see here. Next thing we want to go ahead and bring up, Pixar's Lightyear went ahead and dropped not only a brand new poster, but also a brand new trailer. This is very much, I guess, maybe the second trailer or official trailer. This movie is set to go ahead and drop June 17th. And honestly, Stuart, I'm really enjoying everything that I'm seeing from this. There's really something cool about the idea of going back to a Toy Story sort of aspect, if you will, and really focusing on the real life sort of Buzz Lightyear that kind of inspires the toy that we wind up getting in the movie itself. So to be able to kind of see the adventures that he's on, there are very much like Star Wars elements in here that I'm really picking up on. I think Chris Evans sounds great as Buzz. It looks spectacular, honestly, and I even was a really big fan of the soundtrack that we wind up getting here in this trailer. This is something I personally would probably want to go ahead and see in the movie theaters. But I'm excited for this. I mean, you tell me Pixar is about to give me another Disney movie, this time also based off of Toy Story. This movie is going to make $1 billion, bro. I feel it already in my bones. What are you thinking so far about the trailers and the poster?
The trailer gives me Interstellar but for kids vibe, and that's not a bad thing. I'm actually like I'm loving that. I like how it felt like I felt like when they originally announced a Buzz Lightyear movie, I was kind of picturing it being a lot like the cartoon, which was kind of almost like a parody of Saturday morning cartoons in
Right.
a way.
Mhm.
So that's what I was like kind of expecting, like a very good versus evil Star Warsy kind of movie. But seeing that this isn't really about like the Alliance versus Zurg, it really just seems like it's about them trying to get off world and trying to get back home and that kind of a thing. I think that's a really unique a unique place to take a story for a character like Buzz Lightyear. And yeah, it's also kind of cool like now because we've seen Buzz Lightyear as a toy in the Toy Story movies, and now we get to know like what movie in universe he kind of like is modeled after, and that's to me that's extremely intriguing. But I do have one question. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. In the world of Toy Story, would the characters look at this movie as an animated movie or a live action movie?
Live action.
Okay.
I think they would see this as a live action, because I think that would just mean that they would know that they're animated, and that's weird to me.
Yeah.
That's super meta to me. Like I got to think that what they're seeing looks in live action. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's I don't know where that. I love the question though, bro. I love the question though. Trying to think about the psychological thoughts of animated characters. I dig it. I dig it.
It's just a funny thought I have every time I watch the trailer.
Like, do they know they're animated, or do they think themselves they're I don't know, Stuart. I love it though. Let me see. I want two more things here. We do have a couple of new release dates and pushbacks, if you will, for some movies. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse winds up moving from October 7th of this year to June 2nd of next year. So yeah, we do have some big moves. So Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is moving from October 7th to June 2nd, which if you ask me, Stuart, I think this is a much better date for Across the Spider-Verse, even though, trust me, I would love to see this movie in October. I think October is such an odd month for Across the Spider-Verse, and just based off of the uproar and just how not necessarily the uproar, but the enthusiasm and anticipation for this movie is, especially after the first one, putting this sort of square in the middle of summertime seems like the perfect solution, if you ask me. I think it's a really great business decision. What do you think, though, from October 7th of this year to June 2nd, Across the Spider-Verse? How do you feel about it, besides bummed that it's being pushed back?
I mean, yeah, bummed is getting pushed back, but I do pretty much agree with you. Like, I like the idea of it coming out in the summer, especially with it being an animated movie. It's like you want those movies to be summer movies because that's when kids are going to have the free time to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. They also, Sony has dated their Spider-Man spinoff, Madam Web, for a July 7th, 2023. So it looks like we've got another mediocre film from Sony being pushed in summertime. Now, I don't know. We'll have to see what Madam Web is certainly going to look like. But the idea of that being pushed to July 7th, usually when people do that, especially when it comes to the summer, you would think maybe Sony has some high hopes and expectations for that. But you know what, Stuart? I'm gonna be honest. I think that date probably moves again. I think as we get closer towards the end of the year, or maybe in the middle of the summer, something tells me that the Madam Web movie itself might actually move off once again of that July 7th date. But that's just me. What do you think, though? Do you think that's a good spot for that movie? We don't really know too much about it, so it feels kind of odd placing it in July already in the middle of summer. What do you think, though? You think that'll stick there, or you think that'll move it around again?
So optimistically, I wanted to say that they moved it there probably because they wanted to make some big connection to Into the Spider-Verse and that's why they wanted them so close. But then I remembered this is Sony and they released Morbius. And, I thought if anything, Morbius would be the one to like really show us what Sony's overall plan was. But all it did to me anyways, was confirm that Sony doesn't even really have a plan to begin with. So yeah, I agree with you. It's, it's cool if it comes out that day, but I'm also expecting it to get pushed back at some point.
I can't lie, Stuart. Me and you definitely were on the right track, or at least in the same mindset in regards to when I saw the Spider-Verse for June and I saw Madam Web for July, and just based off of Madam Web and really how she can see into different dimensions and portals and multiverses, yada yada yada, it almost feels like that's a proper setup for a crossover or some connective pieces to kind of blend in together. So I'm gonna say I don't think that's far-fetched, especially considering the fact that you thought about it too. I think since we're both on that same page, I don't think it's far-fetched to believe that that's what Sony's doing. But I've yet to see Morbius myself. I am super hesitant. But again, I am with you in that sense of if you feel that way about Morbius, yeah, we'll see what happens when it comes to Madam Web if it eventually gets pushed back to the dungeons of January and February where movies go to die, or if they will really keep it here on July 7th of next year. But we'll definitely keep you posted there. And last but not least, speaking of Sony, Stuart, I saw this past weekend. Shout out to AJ for giving me the heads up on these photos here. But we've got our very first photos of Aaron Taylor Johnson in the Craven movie. I don't know. Maybe they have released photos before of him before in the past. But these are the first time that I'm actually seeing like on set photos of good old Aaron Taylor Johnson. Let me go ahead and try and pull these up here for you. Homeboy's running through. Look at the hair. Look at the hair, Stuart. Just blowing in the wind. Homeboy's got the beard going. He's got the necklace around it, man. He's definitely looking the part, looking like a little bit of a mercenary, like he hunting somebody down out there. I don't know, bro. But yeah, we got our very first look at. I think there was another picture. I thought I downloaded it and uploaded it, but I guess not. Yeah, Aaron Taylor Johnson, homeboy's like barefoot. I wonder if they're gonna like CGI some human feet on him or some hobbit feet on him so he can keep up with like all the people he's trying to hunt down. I have no idea here, Stuart, but what are you thinking about seeing Aaron Taylor Johnson here as Craven?
Yeah, I think honestly this is a pretty cool choice, and I'm intrigued to see how he does. I don't know how hyped I am for the movie itself, but I'm hyped to see how he does in the role with what he's given, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Originally, so my fan casting was originally God, I forgot his name, but the dude that plays Negan on The Walking Dead, that was originally my fan casting. But now that I see Aaron Taylor Johnson, like kind of, really bulked up, like not that he wasn't bulked up before, but like seeing him in here, it looks like he's really put on even more muscle. And then also see him with the beard and the long hair, I think he's going to do just fine. So I'm excited.
Well, I'm glad you're as confident about I'm glad that you're as supportive of Aaron and hoping that he does as good as you think he certainly will. Me, on the other hand, I just can't get excited, man.
Oh, really?
I just can't get excited for these movies anymore. For at least for Sony movies, I just can't until they really blow me away with one. I'm really just going to keep my expectations low. I've personally, there are maybe one or two things I've seen Aaron Taylor Johnson in that I'm like, oh, he's, I really enjoy him. Kick-Ass, for instance, really enjoyed him in that movie. But there are definitely some other movies I've seen him in that I just really don't care for his performances and the characters that he brings to life. It just doesn't really work for me. So I'm already in that weird space of thinking that Aaron was an odd choice for Kraven the Hunter. When I think of accents, I automatically think of him as Quicksilver, and that makes me cringe also. I didn't really care for him too much in the Godzilla movie that we wind up having. So I have my doubts that he can really bring this character to life as best as he possibly can. And that already on top of the issues that I have when it comes to Sony movies, this is just a collaboration I need to definitely see a lot more of before they can certainly get me excited for this particular film. But I hope he's giving his all. Like as disappointed as I am sometimes with Sony, don't get me wrong. I think the people that are putting these movies together are truly trying to put together great movies for fans. But there's that for me, it misses its mark more times than not. But we'll see what happens when it comes to Aaron Taylor Johnson. I think he looks great visually. I can see it. It's really, I just personally need to see a lot more before I certainly get hyped. But guys, let us know your thoughts. What do you think about some of these photos?
Yeah, and you know what's sad? I feel like my hype for the movie itself would be way higher if it was under the MCU logo instead of the Sony logo. It being under
Right.
the yeah,
Right.
it
Yeah.
being a Sony movie, that's what kind of gets me like not as excited because like I know every time I get really hyped for a Sony movie, I'm more than often like very disappointed. With the only exception really in the last like 10 years being Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, and I'm like, damn, how did you make that movie, Sony? Like, who else did you get to help you? Like, because I have no idea how you guys made it. Granted, that's
I mean,
probably
we kind of know why it was good because
yeah.
the
That's
directors,
what I
I don't
say.
think
Yeah,
they've
Lord and
ever,
Miller. Yeah,
yeah, I don't think they've made a bad movie yet.
that was the winning ingredient for that movie, for Lord and Miller. Anything else other than that? Yeah, Sony is just. It's been a struggle. But listen, if you guys have appreciated and really enjoyed the Sony movies, more props to you. We're definitely not here to yuck on your yum. It's just one of those things for us, at least, or at least for me, when it comes to the Sony movies, they just haven't hit me the way that I certainly would like to. So we'll see what happens with Kraven the Hunter and all these other movies, but we'll definitely continue to keep you posted in regards to any developments. But Stuart, I think other than that, it is time to go ahead and dive into our live let's say live viewer questions, our main topics for the day. Are you ready to go ahead and dive in with me, Stuart?
Always.
Let's do this, man. First topic that we're going to be go ahead and talk about today. We talked about this actually very earlier on in the week. You know, Marvel this past Monday said no case in the Mondays for you guys, and wind up releasing to us our very first look in regards to trailer wise for Thor Love and Thunder, one of the more upcoming MCU films that's set to go ahead and drop this year. Very highly anticipated. I mean, we still have a Doctor Strange movie that's set to go ahead and drop in May to certainly look forward to, but they definitely wanted to go ahead and get the hype machine and marketing machine rolling for Thor Love and Thunder. And so this past week, we got ourselves a couple of posters, we got ourselves a couple of news articles that dropped, and specifically a brand new trailer to really give us an idea as to what Taika Waititi is certainly up to. So, Stuart, let's go ahead and dive into this topic and talk some Thor Love and Thunder. First and foremost, though, I do want to go ahead and showcase the poster here. This is set to go ahead and drop, I believe, July 8th is the release date for Thor Love and Thunder. A great way to go ahead and spend your holiday weekend for sure. I love this poster, Stuart. I truly do. This is one that I would love to have on my wall. It's just a fantastic throwback to the 80s. There's a Masters of the Universe vibe in here that I love, a Flash Gordon-esque sort of element as well. This just has just Rockstar written all over it. What are you thinking about the poster that we see?
I feel like Marvel is finally listening to the fans when they complain about the posters because
Yes.
we got Ms. Marvel, we got Doctor Strange having a couple of really cool posters, and now Thor Love and Thunder. Yeah, no, I fully agree. I love it. I love the axe that he's holding up from you know, the previous Avengers movies and all that. Yeah, I'm very very hyped for this movie, and I think this is an excellent poster to really get that hype ready.
It does. It just draws emotions from me when I look at it, and that's all I, as a fan, I could really ask for. Like I said, I get very Masters of the Universe, and I have the power, and the lightning striking down. I love it, but trust me, Thor is not the only person that wind up getting a poster. The Mighty Thor also got one. Miss Natalie Portman herself holding up Mjolnir here as we get the opportunity to kind of see her on her own poster. The one is not the only, according to this particular poster, as we get to see Jane Foster wielding one as well. So back to back, Thor and good old Mighty Thor here. I love it. I love it personally. It looks great.
I really hope they get back together in this movie because, like, seeing Jane as the Mighty Thor and just seeing Chris Hemsworth as Thor, and man, I really want to see them fight side by side.
A power
which I'm
couple,
sure,
as,
yeah,
as
exactly.
yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
Well, I will say that in the moment in the trailer that we get to actually see her reveal in here, Thor is in that sequence when Mjolnir comes to her hand and you look at Thor and he looks shocked and surprised. So you might be right. We definitely might be getting ourselves a big battle. Maybe she shows up in the middle of the battle to certainly help Thor out and they kick ass together back to back. Something like maybe like Rescue and Iron Man from Endgame. Maybe we get a bigger moment like that, back
Yeah.
to back, these two kind of fighting. I love the costume, Stuart. I mean, when it comes to the idea of comic book accurate, it feels like this movie is definitely going to take its liberties and make, we've seen the brand new costume from Thor, which is a lot brighter, if you will. I love the color scheme. But when it comes to the Mighty Thor, it looks pretty accurate to me in regards to what we've ripped out of the comic book into live action here. But I think Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, the Mighty Thor, looks fantastic in here from first appearances. What do you think, though, seeing this trailer in this moment?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The moment that worried me, the only thing that worried me about Natalie Portman as the Mighty Thor was kind of the fact that she's kind of scrawny, and I just wasn't sure if I was gonna believe her as Thor. I knew she was gonna do a good job as an actor because she really seemed hyped for this movie, and I noticed that she tends to do better in movies that she actually enjoys doing. But like now seeing her in the full costume, and then also seeing if you look at her arms, it looks like she's actually kind of bulked up for this role.
Yeah, look at those triceps, bro.
Yeah. So I am really hyped to see her now as the Mighty Thor. It looks like she's having an absolute blast making this movie, and like I mentioned, that usually means a better performance from her overall.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And even when I did my review earlier this week, I'm pretty sure the first thing that I mentioned when I talked about Mighty Thor was like, my God, do you see her arms? Like, that's just not the arms of Natalie Portman that I'm used to. I mean, she really has committed herself for this particular role, and she certainly looks like she's bulked up to go ahead and certainly fit this role and do Jane Foster a fantastic service. And I think that's saying a lot too, Stuart, just based off of what we know of Natalie Portman's time in the MCU, her displeasure with how Dark World wind up coming out and stuff. The idea of just not having the best relationship. Fans felt some type of way about her all of a sudden kind of coming back and kind of taking up this mantle. A lot of people kind of uncertain how to definitely feel about it. But, the one thing I've always said is I've loved Natalie Portman as an actor. I just have always had an issue with her portrayal of Jane Foster. She just it doesn't feel like she's ever given her best performance or that she's fully invested in it whatsoever. And it's always been hard for me to truly care about the Jane Foster character. So the fact that we're diving into this storyline for her, which, by the way, they have confirmed that from the comic books, they will be taking the cancer storyline for her. The fact that they're going to be going that route, and the commitment that we have from Natalie Portman, everything that I'm seeing so far, she really looks like she's putting her best foot forward. And I'm really excited to kind of see how they bring Jane Foster to life and make me, somebody that didn't really care about her, now care about her and see what her character journey is certainly going to be like. So first impressions of Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, impressive, man. Impressive, if you ask me.
Definitely. I really hope they also give us kind of like a flashback to explain, because it was done off screen originally. I kind of want to know why she and Thor broke up originally.
Yeah, I'm hoping they definitely dive. I mean, I would hope that they dive into it, since considering the fact that it's something that they've been beating around the bush about for quite some time, right? There's kind of been hints, maybe a reference here or there to Jane. I think the last time we heard her name was in Endgame when Thor was like crying about them breaking up and stuff. So yeah, I'm hoping that we do get a moment between those two where we do fill in the blanks as to everything that's happened with her. If they are going the route of the cancer storyline, I'm hoping for some flashbacks here as well. This movie looked like it's going to just be bonkers. I mean, just based off of the trailers that we've seen so far, it definitely feels like a Taika Waititi movie times 100, which I think is kind of scary, to be honest with you. Like I just keep going in my head of hearing Taika talk about in his previous interviews how it should be illegal for them to make this movie, that they have no idea how this movie's even being made and being shown to people in the first place. And the moment in the trailer that I get that is when we see Thor on the ship and he's got like his sailor's pirate garb on, and somebody like swings onto his ship and he like grabs her and like kisses her briefly. It feels something very much out of like Princess Bride or something only Taika Waititi can certainly think of. And I'm like, I have no idea where this movie's going, but it's definitely going to be entertaining to say the least, man. I definitely agree.
Oh, I gotta point out a spelling error though in the what do you call it, in the banner.
What did I
You put the Mighty Thor Guardians of the Galaxy, and it really should be the Mighty Thor as Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, sorry, Stuart.
But that said, though, one of the things I love also in that trailer is kind of that moment where you got Chris Pratt, like, kind of trying to give good advice to Thor, like saying, hey, remember, keep the ones that you love close to them. Always look them in the eye and everything. And then you see Thor, like, sliding into frame, just, like, giving him that look in the eyes. And then him being like, what? No, not me. And then Thor just trying to play it off as cool, like, oh, well, I was just listening.
It's definitely going to be that same humor that we saw not only in Ragnarok, but just even from the Endgame, and just the combination of these two certainly working together. And I think if they can capture that magic between Star-Lord and Thor as Guardians of the Galaxy, I think we're on to something special here. It feels very much like the Guardians of the Galaxy are probably going to pop, or it seems like they're going to be more active in the beginning of this film. And based off of the trailer, when it comes to Thor talking about, he's a changed man, he's hanging up his hammer, he's trying to use his hands for peace now, sort of thing. It definitely does feel like whatever journey he's going on, he's made his decision while with the Guardians, and they're kind of dropping him back off, which it looks like they're kind of dropping him back off. And I don't remember what the name of the planet was. Was it Sarek or wherever Ragnarok took place at? It feels like they might be going back to that planet from some of the shots that we wind up seeing. How much of the film do you think will be Thor and the Guardians together?
I think the Guardians are going to play a role in the probably first third at the most, but I don't think they're going to play a huge part. I think they showed them in the trailer because they knew they had to, because if they didn't, fans would be like, wait, but we saw Thor taking off with them. Are they not in the movie? I think they only show them really just to confirm that they're in the movie, but I don't think they're going to be like huge in the film.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but I think that definitely will have their impact very much in the beginning, whether that be helping Thor get back into shape, as they kind of teased a little bit of a workout montage in here also. He's got his Thor costume on when they're running into battle very briefly also. So yeah, there's definitely going to be a part where he definitely hangs it up, and we get the opportunity to see him and Korg going on any adventure that they certainly might be having in this movie. And you know what, Stuart? I bring up this photo particularly because there was some speculations and theories going on Twitter, at least. They think that there's somebody else in this shot. Think of the Spider-Man No Way Home, where we saw the Tom Holland Spider-Man jumping into action against 3 different enemies, and there was just a big amounts of empty space, and people were like, yeah, I think Toby and Andrew's Spider-Man are in that shot, and they ended up being in it when we actually saw the movie in theaters. So let me ask you, Stuart, do you think there's somebody to the right here of Thor, or do you think this is just a big empty space that we have?
I think it's going to be either Jane or Hercules. Not sure,
Okay.
but that's my theory. But yeah, I do agree. The framing is really bad in this shot, and it would only be good if there was a third person here. So yeah, I think that the possibility of there being a third person that they had to crop out is huge.
Has Hercules been confirmed for this movie?
I don't think so, but obviously his dad is. But yeah, I don't know if they've confirmed Hercules or not.
That's true. His dad is in here. We did get a brief tease of Russell Crowe as Zeus. We didn't get the opportunity to see his face, though. But they did certainly tease him in here. I remember when Christian Bale was originally cast, one of the things that I said was I would love to see Christian Bale as Hercules. That's definitely not certainly going to happen. But the idea of a Hercules in this movie would be interesting. So I would say, yes, I think either Hercules is right here, or I'll even go so far as to say a Beta Ray Bill. I would love to see a Beta Ray Bill in here as well. They definitely have teased them in the third Thor movie, so maybe we can actually get a variation of him in here as well. We'll see though. I have no idea. You think maybe even Frog Thor pops up in here from the Loki series?
Maybe if they end up doing multiversal stories in this movie, it's possible, but I kind of hope they don't. I hope they keep it in just one singular universe.
I kind of want to see how he ended up in the jar in Loki, because isn't he like underground, stuck inside of a jar?
Yeah, I feel like that's something that they could explore in What If. Like, I would love to see a What If episode about Frog Thor,
I
for
love it.
sure.
I
But
love it.
yeah, now that I think about it, I think Beta Ray Bill is the best possibility, especially because, like you mentioned earlier, it looks like they go back to the planet from Ragnarok where we originally
Mm.
saw like a statue of him. So that would make the most sense. That'd be like the easiest way to introduce him into the MCU.
Yeah, I would love to see him pop up. I think it's definitely a fan's dream to certainly see him. We don't get Gore the God Butcher in here. This is simply just a teaser trailer. It feels like to me. I wouldn't be surprised if either the second or the final trailer they wind up revealing him a little bit more. So that's really the only person I feel like we haven't seen. We did revisit New Asgard in here, briefly get an opportunity to see Valkyrie at the head of a table. Looks like she's got some people working for her. They're giving like cruise line tours, it looks like, on the outside of New Asgard. I have no idea what's going on in that city of theirs, but I'm going to be interested to kind of see how Valkyrie runs her kingdom. But I think she's probably looking for love in this movie too. Are you under that impression as well?
I wasn't under the impression that that's what she was looking for, but yeah, I feel like honestly, it's kind of coming down to like her main plot will probably be just trying to run Asgard on Earth, and then the government being like, I don't know how we feel about having an entire nation of people that are stronger than us, kind of a thing.
That's the thing.
Especially when it's like a nation that we know that magic exists with Asgard, so we know that they know how to use magic. So I'm kind of curious, like if they're going to delve into the politics of running an Asgard on Earth. I'm
I would,
hoping, anyways,
yeah, I
because that
hope.
would be interesting.
Yeah, I would love to see how that all works around, especially with everything that's happened in this freaking world since Endgame. Um, yeah, a lot has definitely have changed when it comes to the MCU world. But I'm loving what we're seeing, man. Everything that I've seen, it feels like a Taika Waititi movie. I do think that if people weren't necessarily the biggest fans of Thor Ragnarok because of the comedy aspect, you might want to veer clear of this movie also, because I think it's just going to come back to you in twofold. But I think if there's anybody, and we've talked about this before, especially looking at Taika's past films like Jojo Rabbit, if there is anybody that knows how to balance the insane humor with the emotional aspect of character development and storylines and stuff, and really tug at your heartstrings, I think it is Taika that does a really good job of balancing that out. So, do you get that vibe just from the trailer itself, and maybe even hearing that the idea of Jane Foster's cancer storyline is somehow going to be included in all this craziness?
I get that vibe from hearing about the cancer storyline. Definitely not from the
Not from
trailer
the
itself.
trailer. Yeah, not from
Yeah,
the trailer.
but yeah, like you mentioned, like he can do emotional stories really well, as we've seen in Jojo Rabbit. I really, really hope we get kind of that emotional punch that he gave us. From that really that really like shocking scene from Jojo Rabbit with the kid's mother. I really
Oh yeah.
hope we get something like that in Thor: Love and Thunder. So yeah.
Yeah, I hope so too. But guys, yeah, certainly go ahead and let us know your thoughts about the Thor Love and Thunder trailer that we wind up getting this week. What did you think about the brand new posters? What do you think of Jane Foster as the mighty Thor? What do you think of the rest of the trailer, from the humor to the character development that we might have here for Thor's storyline? Certainly let your thoughts be known. I do want to do some quick shout outs because we didn't get the opportunity to shout people out here at the beginning of the episode, but we'll do some shout outs and then dive into your comments. Good old Gabriel is certainly here with us today. Nicole certainly making her presence felt. We got Enrique Perez certainly in the house today as well. Good old Francois from France certainly joining us, as we're now officially international superstars, ladies and gentlemen. We got Michael Rhymes in the building today. He says, "What's good, my bros? Good to see you, Michael." Jericho in the house. Good old Kurt Marino in here. Roberto, hola, amigos. Good to see you, buddy. Carlo here as well. Good old Miles Duran. Sexy. What's up, AJ? Sexy Mofo coming through. AJ in here. Datilla, as always, certainly coming through. And then, of course, Marcelino Vasquez. Thank you very much, guys, for certainly making your presence felt today. Let me see.
I love how you give a bunch of like actual names, and then we get to AJ, and it's just sexy.
Yeah, sexy mofo. Yeah, sexy mofo. Let me see. Good old Dwayne is in the house too. Thank you very much, man. I'll get to some of your comments that aren't Thor by the end of the episode, though. I'm just trying to give some shout outs to everybody in here, and then see what you guys are saying about the Thor information. Nicole, she says, I'm so excited to see a female Thor in live action. I did kind of laugh when the title Love and Thunder was revealed. Yeah, it's all about the love and action, man. If you ask me, I think it's going to be a fantastic grouping of different themes in this movie for sure.
And seeing that Thor wants to, not be basically a person of violence anymore in this, I think the title actually makes a lot of sense. And it really works for his character because, yeah, the last thing he did, before Endgame was chop up Thanos' head. Or not chop off his head, sorry. He didn't go for the head, which is what caused like half the universe to disappear. And then, after the damage was already done, that's when he, went for the head because he was like so consumed with rage. And so it makes sense that he wouldn't want to go down that path again.
Yeah, the past few years have been a dark time for Thor. So yeah, this is a nice little change of pace for him for sure. Sexy Mofo says, I'm sad Thor won't be fat anymore in the movie. We definitely will get him briefly as Fat Thor. We're definitely going to see a workout montage that I'm looking forward to. I even love the little hat that he was wearing. I think it said the strongest Avenger or something like that he was rocking while he was working out.
You know what the workout montage kind of reminded me of? The Incredibles with Mr. Incredible when he's also kind of working out.
Kind of get back in his suit. Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. Tony Robinson in the house also. Thank you very much, Tony. And Marcelino says, hey, where's Meek, a.k.a. Korg's best friend? Did he die in Ragnarok?
Oh, no. They thought he was dead, but then he like started moving at the very end.
That's right. That's right.
I assume, though, because he got like damaged really badly, like he's probably just chilling on New Asgard. I don't think we're going to see him in battle or anything like that.
Yeah, I completely forgot about Meek until Marcelino brought him back up. So I'm glad you did. But we'll see if he pops up again. But all right, guys, thank you very much for your comments. And trust me, we'll definitely jump back into the live chat as we continue along with our stories. But if anything, Stuart, I guess it's time for topic number 2. So are you ready?
Can I say one last thing about this trailer?
Go for it.
This trailer gives me the vibe of like if I got really stoned and then went to bed listening to heavy metal, this is what would pop in my head.
This is the adventure and journey you'd go on, huh? I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, guys, go ahead and certainly let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below after this video airs in regards to what you've seen so far from Thor, Love and Thunder. And from the Marvel side of things, we're going to dive into the DC side of things, where we're going to dive into some controversial people once again. I personally really hate talking about people's personal business, honestly, Stuart. I really do. We try not to highlight it too much on here, but I think when the actions of some of these actors really start getting rather outlandish and start affecting a lot of the movies and televisions and stuff that we talk about, that we review, that's really where I kind of want to bring up some of these topics in the bigger overall scheme of things, if you ask me. So I'm not trying to get super disrespectful towards certainly these people, but it is certainly a case of their actions affecting the things that we certainly love and certainly talk about. And so we want to go ahead and certainly bring it up. But Ezra Miller, once again, this is, I swear to God, Stuart, this is like deja vu. Didn't we just talk about this guy last week? But he is in the news again, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Ezra Miller arrested. Does that sound familiar? It should, because this is his second time in like 2 weeks. But Ezra Miller is in the news once again, as he has in fact been arrested. And since this news broke, he has also since been released, still running amok around Hawaii, by the way. But let's go ahead and dive into this article here, Stuart, as we switch gears over to the DCEU. This actually comes to us originally from a news website over in Hawaii. This is HawaiiNewsNow.com is where I first got this information. But according to them, it says the Flash star Ezra Miller arrested for allegedly throwing a chair at a woman's head. Just sad stuff, man. This was April 19th. It says Ezra Miller, known for playing the Flash, was arrested early Tuesday in Hawaii after allegedly throwing a chair at a woman and leaving her with a gash to her forehead. It's the latest in a string of negative headlines involving the star, and it came the same day that Miller appeared via Zoom in a Hilo courtroom to plead no contest to a disorderly conduct charge, which stemmed from an incident at a karaoke bar last month. So the same day he had to appear in a Zoom meeting in a courtroom for disorderly conduct, he went back out later that day and had another assault on his hands. It says in the assault case, Hawaii Island police said Miller was taken into custody about 1:30 a.m. Tuesday for second-degree assault. Police said Miller allegedly became irate when asked to leave an acquaintance's house, and he threw a chair at a woman. The 26-year-old victim reported a half-inch cut to her forehead. Miller was arrested following a traffic stop at an intersection. Police said the star was subsequently released pending further investigation. So he's been arrested. He's been released. He just had a court case or court meeting that he had to go in front of. He goes back out, has another assault. The police get him and they release him once again. And literally, Stuart, I wind up watching a video that literally after this incident, after he was arrested, there's another video out there of Ezra Miller at somebody else's house gathering with people, talking with them and stuff. And I'm like, at this point, people in Hawaii, caution, stay clear of this man before you get objects thrown at you. You have no idea what kind of situation you're walking into with Ezra Miller being in your home. But at this particular point in time, Stuart, this is the second time he's been arrested within the past month. There's probably 10 to 15 times he's been called on the police at this point. He's been released twice, and he's still doing his thing. I feel like a broken record, even sort of bringing this up again and talking about this, Stuart. Not to say that the first time wasn't enough. The first time should have been enough for Warner Brothers to certainly still do something. But this is the second time. This time against, an assaulting somebody, if you will, second-degree assault. At this point, Stuart, have your thoughts changed? And do you think, based off of this second one, that Warner Brothers is now like, oh yeah, now we really have to do something? Or do you think it's still the same situation we've had when we talked about this last week?
I think it still comes down to the fact that there's about to be a huge shift in management with the Warner Brothers, and that's like the number one reason like no one's doing anything about this. I'm sure there's other factors for it as well, but I think like that's the main factor. And again, the biggest issue about them not doing anything in regards to this is that now other people, not just him, are actually getting hurt, as we could see from that article with him like throwing a chair at someone. Like, this is an issue not just for him but for other people, and you're essentially turning a blind eye, not making a single statement about it, which has given him the impression that, hey, I can get away with whatever because I'm the Flash. And I think that's the other thing that's really bothering me about this a lot is, playing a superhero role to me is like a huge privilege. And the thing is, like, superheroes, obviously everyone at any age can enjoy superhero movies, but the main people that they're aiming for are, of course, children. And you want the people playing those superheroes to be the good example that those superheroes themselves are. So a guy like Ezra Miller should not be playing the Flash, all right? We shouldn't have someone who strangles women, throws chairs at them, and, we shouldn't have that person as, the Flash, this person that like a lot of kids are going to be looking up to, So, I get that, a lot of people at Warner Brothers are probably just under the impression that, hey, it's not going to be my problem in the next couple of months. But, look at the people that are getting hurt, and you have the power to do something about it. You have, you have people that can talk to Ezra. There's actions that you could take right now, and you're refusing to take it, which to me means that if anyone else gets hurt going forward, honestly, Warner Brothers is just as responsible for those people getting hurt as Ezra Miller, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it is a level of, not holding your star accountable. And like you said, just allowing him to continue to get away with doing the same things over and over again and really harming people and putting people into really threatening positions, unfortunately. It does say here that on Tuesday morning that while he did appear virtually in the courtroom, he pleaded no contest. He did agree to pay a $500 fine. There was also a harassment charge that was in fact dropped, right? So he's paying his fines. They're dropping some of these charges, sort of thing also. So it does feel very much like he probably even feels like he can get away very
Yeah.
easily with a lot of the stuff that's certainly happening. I don't know if the harassment charge was dropped because there was a plea deal that was given, or he wind up paying them off, type of thing. Who certainly knows? But it says the star responded to the judge with mostly one-worded answers and sound off with aloha kakui. So we'll see what happens here, man. But you're right. I mean, it is one of those things where I feel like Warner Brothers certainly could help this man if they wanted to. I am kind of curious as to what type of help Ezra wants to get, or even if he even wants it, right? Maybe he's the type of person that feels nothing's wrong with him. This is just who he is, sort of thing. He doesn't want anybody to tell him he needs to go get help or whatever the case may be. I just find that really dangerous. And like, if he's going out here throwing stuff at people, like you mentioned, choking people, who's to say he doesn't have himself just one of those even worse days, whether that be a terrible case of drinking and he commits something even worse than what he's certainly done, right? Like, this is something that just continues to build and build and build. And we certainly don't know where it's at, where it will certainly end for Ezra. But it definitely makes me worry about him, not just the well-being of the other people that are around him, but just of himself also, in the sense of taking care of himself, his mental health. What is going on with this guy to where he feels like he's got to cover up his issues with a bunch of drinking? Or, is there a part of his life where he's got to turn that corner and have some come to Jesus moments for himself? I really would like to see Warner Brothers or whoever's in charge really take the steps to try and reach out to him and get him some help. Now, whether or not he wants the help for himself, who knows? But just being able to see Warner Brothers or whoever's in charge try to do that to get a better hold of their star, I hope that they certainly do. But after this, Stuart, I'm in agreement with you, man. I don't need this man as the Flash anymore. Like, I really don't. And I'm not sitting here trying to say, hey, give me Grant Gustin. I'm just saying I don't want Ezra Miller as the Flash anymore. And it's to the point to where you might be right that maybe Warner Brothers hasn't done anything because now that they are under new management, maybe they're thinking the new CEO should be the one to certainly handle this. And I just don't know if I'm a CEO coming in and I see I've got myself a bad apple that's really a part of something that I'm trying to get the most out of when it comes to the DCEU. Because we just talked about this last week, Stuart, with new management in town. They have said they feel the key to their success is truly unlocking and tapping into the fullest potential of their DC character slate. You think you're going to tap into your fullest potential with Ezra Miller as a Flash still? Absolutely not. So if you ask me, I think he's probably out. There's a part of me, Stuart, believe it or not, that doesn't even think the Flash movie sees the light of day, bro. There's a part of me that doesn't even think that we will get the opportunity to see this movie, which is kind of crazy because they've spent $200 million on this movie, putting this together, if not more. I think for me, it just comes down to two things. Warner Brothers may be thinking this is all going to go away. People will stop talking about it within a year. Maybe Ezra Miller will certainly go ahead and get himself some help. If we don't get him starring in bigger roles, sort of thing, maybe this will certainly subside. And come June, we hit him with the Flash movie, and then from there we just certainly move forward. I can easily see that being a thing, and the idea of what we talked about last week of them maybe reshooting just the end of the movie to give us a brand new Flash, or they just say fuck it and we just don't get this movie, and they wind up just eating that $200 million and maybe just create either a new Flash movie or just literally reboot this DCEU thing at this point in time. Because I just cannot see a world where you have Ezra Miller, unless this man has gone through a significant change in his life, rehab, understands the faults in his wrongs or the wrongs that he's done, apologizes, sort of thing, then maybe we could certainly have him back. But at this point in time, he is just way too much of a uncertainty to trust this guy with a franchise and this type of property. You got to cut him loose, man, and you got to bring somebody else in. It's just what I believe, though.
Yeah, I 100% agree. For me, and this might be a hot take, I'm not sure. I don't think it's a good idea to just get rid of the Flashpoint movie though altogether. And I say that only because Ezra is not the only person that worked on the movie. There, it's not even about the money. It's about like the many people, especially like the VFX artists, that like put so much time and effort into it. And just the idea of after all of that, suddenly it's like no one gets to see what it looks like. I feel like that'd be a real big punch to the face to them. So I don't think you should let the actions of a terrible person ruin the efforts of like everyone else who put a lot of heart and time into it, especially given the working conditions, because they're doing these VFXs at home instead of in like a studio like they normally do. So it's a lot more challenging to get the renderings correct and that kind of stuff. So I think, if
and I'm sure they're probably still working on it too.
They are.
We're still in post-production and they're working on the VFX effects. And I wonder if they're sitting there thinking to myself, is this movie even going to come out? Like, is this hard? Is this work that I'm doing right now even worth it, guys? Can I get a memo from up top to let us know? Should we move on to other projects, or are we still working on this?
If I was like a VFX artist and they were going to cancel it, I would hope they would tell me now, because like that would be so frustrating to work on it right up until like maybe 2 or 3 weeks before it comes out, because sometimes they can take that long, and then just have them tell you, oh, by the way, we're actually just going to throw away this movie.
Yeah, man. I want to see this movie, because you're right. Michael Keaton's in this movie. Homeboy came back to do this movie. Sasha Calle is supposed to be our brand new Supergirl. She's supposed to be in this movie too, right? There's just so many pieces that I think are really riding on this movie that have come together that fans really kind of want to see. To have such a bad apple like Ezra Miller really put this film and its future certainly in question. It's just a blow to Warner Brothers and any enthusiasm and hype level for this movie that you certainly had. I'm still hoping that they release this film. Again, I don't necessarily think that Warner Brothers will come out and say, hey, we're parting ways with Ezra Miller, until I think this movie winds up dropping. I think once the movie drops, then they'll say, yeah, we're done with it here. But I do hope within a year, June 2023, that certainly is a lot of time. A lot can certainly change. We'll see if we get this movie or if they make any changes to it, but we certainly will keep you guys posted. I'm sorry. You were pulling up something. Go ahead.
Oh, you can go ahead and do yours first.
I was just going to say, Nicole said, is it possible he might get banned from entering Hawaii again next time, unless he lives in Hawaii? I mean, look, at this point, look, man, they put a was it a PBA on him or whatever they call it? Keep this man out of Hawaii if you can. But we'll see what happens here.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this one up because I can't think of an example where it was with the main character, but there's been several movies where like an actor has been problematic, so they've reshot that actor's scenes with a new actor. They did it recently, in fact, with the Zack Snyder zombie movie. I forgot what that was called, but the problem is with the Flash is that Ezra is the main character, and I imagine they're in probably at least 90% of the movie. So I don't really know how you do that.
What? Say that again?
I don't know, I don't think it'd be possible basically to reshoot. I mean, you could, it would just cost a lot of money, but yeah, I don't know how you would reshoot the whole movie without Ezra Miller in it. And then, again, the whole $200 million things, it would be really hard to scrap the entire movie from that.
Yeah, this is just a weird place to be in. This feels kind of like it feels kind of like
that was the movie.
It kind of feels Army of the Dead. Yeah, that's right. Was it Chris D'Elia, I believe, was supposed to be in it, and then they recast somebody to play his part, and then they reshot those particular scenes. I don't think he was in the entirety of the movie, but the scenes that he was in, they definitely went ahead and took him out of it. Because he wasn't like the main lead. That's like if Batista did something, right? Like in majority of the movie. So for this, it is a case. Look, we spent $200 million. Do we go back and do we deep fake somebody's face onto Ezra Miller? The idea of having to redo that whole movie again would just feel very much like Solo, the Star Wars movie, and we saw how that went. Unfortunately, it's just financially, it just didn't make the money that it certainly needed to because of how much they spent in the reshoots and remaking that film. So I just think that's something that Warner Brothers is probably thinking about. I can't imagine that they want to reshoot the whole movie again. So that's why I liked your idea, Stuart, of the idea of when it comes to Flashpoint, maybe there's a moment in the film to where you can put in reshoots for, say, the final act of the film, and changing some things, and maybe the facial features or Flash himself winds up changing within that movie. Either that, or you let this movie just release the way that it is. I just don't see them going back and reshooting the entire thing. I just can't imagine that, because I think that's asking for like close to a $400 million budget, and then you got to talk about marketing. That's probably another $100 million. So now budget of the film winds up turning to about $500 million for the Flash movie. And then you got to pay your theaters, and you're almost looking for that movie to have to make $750 million, if not $1 billion, to have even made any money off of it, So it's they find themselves in a really terrible position, unfortunately. Francois does say, just me, but do you think this new DC merger may gloss over Ezra Miller? They should. I think they should try and figure out some way to at least have him replaced, certainly going forward. Datilla does say think she brought up an excellent point about how the actors who play superheroes need to be good examples. And listen, we're all humans. You know what I mean? We all make mistakes. We're certainly not perfect. But I think the weight of the characters that you're playing should make you feel some levels of responsibility, And I think when you look at people like a Henry Cavill, like a Gal Gadot, even like a Melissa Benoist, or even a Grant Gustin, that have these roles and understand the responsibilities and the people that look up to them and what comes with it, right? It's like you got to keep yourself clean, man. I know it's not the easiest thing to do in the world, but when you come on board these roles, you got to think that you're going to be role models, and that's an aspect of your life that you certainly have to change and be wary of. Again, we're definitely not perfect, but you at least got to try and put your best foot forward from time to time, man. So yeah, I think you made a great point, Stuart.
Thank you.
Let's see here.
For this one, for Back to the Future, from what I understand, I think they only had like about a week's worth of filming with the original actor before he got replaced with Michael J. Fox. So it wasn't like they had to reshoot the entire movie. I think it was actually true, yeah. I think it was only the mall scene where they first test the DeLorean, and then the diner scene with Marty and his dad.
Yeah, I haven't read all the behind the scenes in regards to that, but you're probably right in that regards. Gabriel does say, let me see if I can understand this. Gabriel, he says, this doesn't make sense, but Warner Brothers makes Saban from Power Rangers more or less of a madman when it comes to how they treat their actors. Warner Brothers, I don't know what's up with Warner Brothers, man. From the Ray Fisher stuff to just allegations in the past, seeing the Harvey Weinstein stuff. I mean, just all the stuff that's definitely been happening behind the scenes at Warner Brothers, and just as a company, the way that they handle these people, it's disturbing to watch, man. Disturbing to watch. Like, it's just, where's the accountability these days? It's non-existent. All right, guys. With that out of the way, we will transition from one unfortunate figure to yet another one in regards to going from Ezra Miller's Flash to that of the career of good old Will Smith these days, ladies and gentlemen. We haven't really talked a lot about Will Smith around here. I don't know why this has felt like a very I don't want to say taboo topic, but one that is a very sensitive one, especially I think especially for me, having had seen it live, it definitely left an impression on me. And I have my own thoughts about it that I haven't really talked about, and I don't really feel like opening up a gigantic can of worms. But I will say this: while I certainly have never agreed with the actions of Will Smith, in regards to what happened at the Oscars that night. The fact that this is a guy who majority of our life that we've seen of him has really kept his nose clean, has not been in any trouble whatsoever type of thing, you know what I mean? For this particular moment to happen, I think when people say, oh, but this is just so uncharacteristic of Will Smith, I would have never seen somebody like him doing something like that. I think that's a telltale sign that there's a lot more mentally certainly going on with somebody who has been just a fantastic role model, I think, over these past years. To see him in the situation that he's in, while I was definitely upset at Will Smith's actions and what he certainly did, and definitely don't, I definitely want to condone his actions. There is a part of me as well that just feels very sad for the situation to see somebody like a Will Smith having fallen to this particular point and be in this situation sort of in the first place. And so I never want to come at it in the sense of out here trying to cancel somebody whatsoever. For me, it's a case of holding that person accountable and then also trying to do our best as a society to maybe hopefully help this man get the help that he needs going forward in the future, because mental health is definitely a big issue for sure. And so when it comes to the Will Smith situation, one of the things I've been keeping my eye on out is really how a society and people are responding to his actions. What are the punishments that are coming down? How are people treating Will Smith? And it feels very much like a slow cancellation of sorts, if you will. I feel like people are still trying to navigate and figure out how to handle the situation. The Oscars recently came out and they banned Will Smith from the Oscars at 10 for 10 years. And it was a huge outpour of people that were pretty outraged at the idea of 10 years. He can't go to the Oscars for 10 years, sort of thing. And I definitely get that outrage because there are plenty of figures in Hollywood that don't necessarily that have done worse and have gotten more leniency in regards to how the Academy has certainly handled them. But just looking at Will Smith's situation, I think even what the Oscars did, if you ask me personally, was a little bit just of a slap on the wrist. It's not the case that they told him you can't be eligible for awards for 10 years. You just can't come to the show. And if you ask me, I think 80% of the people that are in the audience wish that the Academy told them you can't come to the show for the next 10 years. Half those people in the audience don't even look like they want to be there in the first place. So I almost think the Oscars did Will Smith a favor in allowing Homeboy to stay home for the next 10 years. But you can still win awards. You can still be nominated. But we are starting to see that there are certainly companies, organizations out there that are very much distancing themselves from Will Smith, maybe not necessarily wanting to put him in their movies as of right now. And some of the projects that Will Smith does have lined up are either getting pushed back or just canceled outright. And so this week, I found it interesting that we did get ourselves an article from comicbook.com letting us know that the dominoes continue to fall when it comes to Will Smith, as yet another project has in fact been, in their words at this point, cancel, Stuart. And for me, this really hurts in the sense that this was a freaking Will Smith movie that I truly, truly wanted to see. And unfortunately, comicbook.com is letting us know Netflix cancels Bright 2 plans after the Will Smith Oscar incident. It does say here the fallout from Will Smith's slap of Chris Rock at the Academy Awards continues to be felt, with a new report from Bloomberg revealing projects featuring the actor have been delayed and canceled. It does say that according to the outlet, a new nature series from National Geographic hosted by Smith has been delayed until later in the year. But the article's author, Lucas Shaw, took to Twitter to also add that Netflix has abandoned plans to make a sequel to Bright. In his tweet, he clarified that the cancellation of Bright 2 was unrelated to the incident, something that has also been said about other Smith projects in recent days. The last update was made about a sequel to Bright came last summer when a report revealed that a script was being fine-tuned and that Netflix expected Will Smith and Joel Edgerton to return. Even director David Ayer was attached to return for a time, but dropped out as development continued to stall. Bright 2 is just the latest film starring Smith that has been nixed at Netflix, with the movie Fast and Loose also having been shelved by the streamer. At the time, it was reported that Fast and Loose stalled out also had nothing to do with the Oscar slap, but due to director David Leitch developing another project at another studio. So, Stuart, they are very much saying in here, oh, this has nothing to do with the Oscar slap. This has nothing to do with the incidents. But I just find it interesting that all of a sudden all this stuff is happening after the Oscars, despite the fact that they're saying that it's not. There's a part of me that thinks that they maybe just want to stay face a little bit in regards to all of this, and maybe you're just trying to see how it's all gonna play itself out. But it definitely seems, again, Fast and Loose being shelved over at Netflix. Bright 2, which seemingly was coming along really well together, fine-tuning the script. Will Smith and Joel Edgerton set to return. So was Dave Ayer before dropping out because development was stalled. Do you think this has anything to do with the slap? And also, just what are your thoughts in general about the idea of this movie being shelved and canceled? Do you think it will ever see the light of day, Stuart?
First, I'm gonna kind of give my perspective on the whole Will Smith thing.
Yeah,
and
go for it, bro.
Talk about with Bright.
Go for it. Go for it.
So, yeah, I never think I think that physical actions, especially when it's against words, is never the right answer. I think that what Will Smith did, was not okay, basically. But I will also say this. I still am not a big fan of how the Oscars decided to respond to this. Will Smith should have been escorted out of the Oscars that day, and there are some clickbaity fake articles saying he was asked to leave and he refused. As far as I know, definitely correct me if I'm wrong, those have been debunked. And what, essentially kind of happened, and this kind of goes back to the whole thing that we were talking about with Ezra Miller, is that after he did it, it was almost like the Academy kind of encouraged it because you had people laughing, and then you had the fact that not only did they not kick him out, they didn't even revoke his Oscar or anything. They still let him get his Oscar for King Richard's and everything. So I think the biggest issue I have with it is the late response to the action, and how the action or the response that they gave seems a lot bigger than what it should have been. And again, because like you kind of mentioned, like I've seen them do less for worse actions, like Halle Berry literally being sexually, harassed on stage and, being encouraged not to say anything about it after the fact, that kind of a thing. So, with the whole Will Smith, it kind of comes off to me as like a parent who encourages their kid to bully other kids until one of those kids' parents tells on them, and then that parent decides, you're grounded for a month. That's kind of the the vibe I got from the Oscars with that whole situation. As for Bright 2 now, I do think that the slap is a factor on why the movie is being pushed back or canceled, but I don't think it's the definitive factor. There's a lot of other allergies that have been kicking in, so that's why I've been having to mute myself and cough a lot. But anyways, I think right now Netflix is just they haven't been making the best business decisions as of recent. And because of that, they've been losing a lot of money financially. I believe it was because they released a lot of their, they released the number of subscribers that they have. And because the number was a lot lower than people expected, they ended up losing a lot of investors. So they don't have the money that they used to. So I think that all kind of plays like a big factor into why Bright 2 isn't being released anytime soon. And then the other thing is that, I know that you and Indy really liked the movie, but it wasn't really received that well critically. So I feel like, again, it's kind of like, if they're going to be releasing bigger movies, they got to make sure it's ones that they know people are going to watch, and one that's going to increase subscribers rather than just keep them, at a steady amount.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you in the sense that you're probably right. I do think, while I do think that there is an aspect of the slap that definitely is attributing to a lot of these Will Smith films being delayed or canceled, when it does come to the Netflix stuff, they did invest a lot of money in this Bright world. I think the fact that they were going to go ahead and create a sequel, they did talk about the idea of expanding upon the lore that they already created in the first one. And you got to think that financially, that's a lot of money that you're certainly looking to add towards this brand new content in regards to expanding it. And you're right. Netflix right now, especially in their first quarter, I think this is the first time in like a decade or something like that they've actually lost subscribers. I think they lost like 200,000 subscribers in total. But you deal with the stuff that's happening over in Russia, where Netflix no longer is offering their subscriptions to people in Russia. You're already losing subscriber base there. I think financially they're seeing, I think they lost like nearly $50 billion in like one day, because their stock like just absolutely crashed with everything that happened after their first quarter call, right? So you definitely get the impression that Netflix is changing trajectory in regards to what they're doing. They very much have always been open to throwing money to anybody in order to acquire what it is that they certainly need. And I think now we're certainly going to see Netflix stepping back a little bit and being a little bit more careful with their money. I think they even made an announcement like they're going to be cutting back on animation, I think, as well. Really all in an attempt to try and save some money. So I do think that they're going to be a little bit pickier about what properties they pick up, what series and what movies that they certainly develop. And when Bright probably already cost them a fortune to make, and you're trying to make a sequel right after this terrible news of we just lost nearly $50 billion, then yeah, you might feel some type of way about making a sequel, in the sense of, we just can't afford that right now. You know what I mean? So you're probably right. There probably is a little bit more to it, certainly, than the slap. But I think maybe the timing of everything that's been happening right now just makes it feel very much more like, my God, like this all because of the incident. This is what they're doing to Will Smith these days. So my thing is, look, I get the idea when it comes to Will Smith. If we want to lay off of hiring Will Smith for like a year or two until some of the noise subsides, that's more than fine. But I just don't think that we should cancel him entirely, especially like you said, when we've got people, or when we've got Will Smith, who's always had a really great track record, you know what I mean? That hasn't been one of these celebrities that really get in trouble a lot. I do think that there's a level of forgiveness and empathy that I think we certainly should have towards people. Again, not taking anything away from his actions, because again, we clearly just do not agree with what Will Smith did. You should just not ever assault anybody like that whatsoever, and should hold yourself very much more accountable, and be in the moment and understand what your actions are certainly going to do. And he definitely wasn't at that point. But there's definitely some people I think you can see and be like, there's something wrong with this person. We should probably be a little bit more empathetic and try and give this person help. And I hope that's the mentality that we have, because these days we're so reactionary. We're super quick to cancel. And I think every situation should be viewed significantly differently. But we'll see what happens, man. I hope Will Smith is certainly going to be okay. I hope we continue to get Will Smith movies here. But we'll definitely keep you posted in regards to how all of that is turning out. Marcelino says, I heard the Deadshot movie was officially canceled. I would be bummed, but Warner Brothers had years to make the movie, and it just feels like karma for WB being lazy. Gabriel says,
I didn't even know that was in the works.
Yeah, me either. Gabriel says, wow, two controversial topics of two actors in one stream. Yeah, it's very rare that we do it, but it's based off of two. Over on our Facebook page, we do post a lot of these topics. And for us, when I look back at the topics, these two topics, the Ezra Miller and the Will Smith one of Bright 2 being canceled, were like our two highest view articles that we had. So I thought it would just be right to go ahead and talk about it. Oh, what's up, Cindy? It's my girlfriend. She says, my heart, it's broken. I'm assuming maybe because Bright 2 is being canceled. I did break the news to her, and she hit me with the audible, no, like fucking Darth Vader. Let me see. Gabriel says, so they're canceling a lot of Will Smith's projects, yet Warner Brothers can't seem to get rid of Ezra. I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to
Yeah.
tell you.
Because the whole Will Smith, Ezra, very different situations. This is Will Smith having one moment of outburst and immediately feeling not only regret but also like very embarrassed about the whole thing, like talking about how that's not an okay response. It's not like he doesn't know his actions were wrong. He said it, on social media. And and the good thing about Will Smith too right now is, he's kind of keeping his head down. He's not like trying to start up more shit afterwards. He's just kind of like, all right, this is what's going on. We'll see where it goes from here. Even though like they've kicked him out for 10 years, I really don't think that's going to last, because I think like really soon, like they're going to kind of realize, okay, he's been doing everything right. There's no reason to keep this punishment going on.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I really hope so. Cindy also says, why do we have to be punished for what Will Smith did? Why can't we get nice things? Yeah, man. Yeah, we shouldn't be punished. Sexy Mofo says, wait, Russia canceled Netflix? No, I think Netflix canceled Russia. I think that's how it worked. I could be wrong though. Who knows? That's what the wars come down to? Who's canceling who these days? How dare you starting new wars from cancellations? Sherman says, what's up, Indy? He says, I think they will be okay. It's just the first fall from the streaming surge. Yeah, and I think the streaming wars are definitely trying to buffer themselves out a little bit. There's a great article on our Facebook page, guys, if you want. I think it's from Variety, that's really explaining how the changes of Netflix that we've seen here could be a sign of how things are changing when it comes to the streaming wars at this point in time. It's a really interesting article here as well, but you might be right, Indy. We'll definitely see.
I mean, the advantage that they don't have anymore is they're no longer the streaming site. It's kind of like when television came out and you only had 2 channels. When more channels started to come, the ratings for those channels went down, not because they got worse, but because there are options now.
Yeah, and it's like at this point, it's like, how many households do we have in America, right? Like, how many houses can you actually get yourself into? Like, I don't think you can have 100% of the market. So I think at some point in time, things will probably even out. Indy also says Will Smith finna do Bollywood movies now. No. He also says Bright had so much potential. It really did. I really wanted to see more, man. I really wanted to see more. And then Michael says, how often and long does it take for you to find topics to talk about? And how do you know which topics is worth discussing once you go live? So we always look for topics throughout the week. Fascinating and interesting topics we post over on our Facebook page. And then usually at the end of the week, I'll go and scroll through the topics, see what interests me to certainly go ahead and talk about, but also see what topics have gotten the most reactions or reach in regards to people clicking on it or really engaging with the topic, sort of thing. And so that's how we figure our 6 topics to certainly go ahead and talk about throughout the week. So yeah, a lot of the topics we talk about are on our Facebook page because we keep you guys up to date throughout the entirety of the week and then pick our topics from there. All right. Indy says, Adam tells us what we talk about and we fall in line. I mean, I do let you guys bring in your honorable mentions for sure. Some things that maybe you guys want to certainly go ahead and talk about. So I definitely do my best there when I can.
I mean, 90% of the time, whatever topics you choose, or if I was personally in charge of picking the topics, they'd be the topics I would choose.
Well, good to know I'm not too off base. Good to know you guys agree with those. But all right, guys, let's get the controversial stuff out of the way. Let's wrap up this Marvel DC controversy talk, and we will go ahead and transition over to our last 3 stories for you guys today. I got to remember what the next topic even is at this point. Let's go into some video game talk because, video games are back in the news when it comes to being adapted for movies. Sonic 2, speaking of which, is currently out in the box office. I believe it's still out in the box office.
It is.
Doing some great numbers. I haven't had the opportunity to certainly see it for myself as of yet. Still on the docket. But it seems as though good old Sega feeling great from what they've accomplished so far with Sonic 1 and Sonic 2. Have plans to bring another franchise and another property, if you will, to the big screen. And one, honestly, Stuart, I'm super pumped to find how this is going to be adapted, but it looks like good old Streets of Rage. You old Sega Genesis heads will get the opportunity to see Streets of Rage brought to the forefront. I remember on my Sega Genesis playing the first 3 iterations of these. Absolutely loved it. I don't remember half the names from these people, but I always remembered Homeboy with the roller skates. And he always like a b-boy kind of moves that he used to do also. There's always some great action in regards to this side scroller that is Streets of Rage. But according to Deadline, it seems as though a film is in the works. Sonic's DJ2 Entertainment and Escape Artists set to produce a video game adaptation scripted by John Wick's Derek Kolstad. So this is an exclusive. It says, on the heels of its success with Paramount's Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega has announced another franchise coming to the big screen with beat-em-up game Streets of Rage getting the film treatment, sources tell Deadline. Derek Kolstad, who created the John Wick action franchise and penned the Bob Odenkirk actioneer Nobody, wrote the script on spec as well. It does say Streets of Rage, developed and published by Sonic, first launched by Sega, first launched in 1991 via the Genesis home video game console. The side scroller follows former police officers who battle a crime syndicate. Since the debut game, the Streets of Rage franchise has spawned sequels across numerous gaming platforms, including the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch. The franchise's latest title, Streets of Rage 4, was released in April of 2020 and has sold more than 2.5 million copies worldwide. It does say Streets of Rage will be the latest project under DJ2 Entertainment's belt, following Sonic the Hedgehog's 2 impressive box office performance. They have also signed an overall deal with Amazon, it looks like, as well. So yeah, man, Streets of Rage. It looks like it's going to be brought to us by the creator of John Wick. And if you ask me, Stuart, I think this is a perfect collaboration to certainly go ahead and bring together. This is certainly a story I would love to see adapted personally. Anytime that you tell me, hey, somebody from John Wick is connected to this, I'm here for it. So yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I definitely have had my fair share of connections to the video game franchise in the past. It's been a minute since I didn't even know there was a Streets of Rage 4, to be perfectly honest with you. But it is something I kind of want to play now that I know that it even exists. But I think this is great, man. Based off of all the action that we wind up getting from the John Wick movies, if there is anybody that knows how to really kind of get the most out of it, it probably is the writer here for this upcoming movie. They've certainly showcased themselves rather well with the first 2 Sonic movies. Continue along with that momentum, and it does make me wonder, Stuart, Sonic, Streets of Rage, do you have any other Sega games that you certainly would like to see? There's a part of me that even wants to ask for can I get a Vector Man? Maybe a Vector Man I think would be pretty cool. I'm sure there's probably a couple other Genesis games I would certainly love to see, but I love the idea of this. I think had they just told me, hey, we're going to be doing a Streets of Rage movie, it probably would have gotten me excited. But I think the fact that they also have somebody attached to write from the John Wick movies, I think that's a collaboration made in heaven. But we'll see. But what are your thoughts, though?
I can almost guarantee you or no one else or anyone in the live chat have probably not heard of this game, but the number one Sega game I want to see adapted into a movie, and I want to be the one who writes the script for this one, Shining Force. It is probably my favorite JRPG of all time. I freaking love that game so much, and it has like quite an epic story. Yeah, no, like finding out that Sega is now like interested in doing more than just Sonic into movies, that gets me really excited. You know, I never had a Sega Genesis growing up, but I played a lot of Sega games through on my PC with the 2 games, Sega Smash Pass, which would have like I think each one of them had 9 different Sega games. So that's how I got to play Vector Man, how I got to play Altered Beast and Sonic the Hedgehog and all those games. And I think like what was so fun about about them is just when you're a young kid and you're playing these games, you know, and you're kind of like skipping through the text because you just want to get to the action. The story just really just kind of forms into your head. You have this whole idea of, you know, you build this own plot that you got going on in your head. And you have this own idea of like, you know, what your character is, what their motive is. I love it, especially when it's like a game like Shining Force, for example, where there's a story, but when it comes to the characters, they're all essentially blank slates. Like you have kind of a face to associate with them. You have a couple of lines here and there to associate with them. But of course, it doesn't go in depth with all of them. So you get to fill in those blanks yourself. And that's what makes it a lot of fun. So that's kind of what I look forward to with Streets of Rage. Like there is kind of a story when you look at the Sega manuals for the Streets of Rage game. But there isn't like, you know, there aren't like that many cutscenes. There isn't really that much to really tell you what this world is. So I really look forward to seeing what this guy's vision is when he plays Streets of Rage. What does this guy see when he plays the video games? And I can't wait to see what that looks like on the big screen.
I definitely agree with you, man. You definitely make some great points too. I am going to be curious to see how he envisions this game. Indy does hit us with some names from everybody in the video game: Adam, Axel, and Blaze. I don't know how I didn't even remember my own name in the video game, but okay. He says also Skater was Adam's little brother. He says Streets of Rage 4 is pretty amazing, but please, no Double Dragon treatment. Yeah, let's avoid let's avoid that movie.
Do you think there's going to be a scene where they accidentally break a Streets of Rage arcade cabinet? Because they had that in Double Dragon.
You got to. He does also suggest an Earthworm Jim for live action.
Yes.
You know, based off of what they've done with Sonic, I kind of would love to see an Earthworm Jim live action. I think they could probably tap into something absolutely great with that. But I'm pumped for this, man. I really am. I definitely want to see how this comes out. How serious are they going to take themselves? Will there be a level of comedy? I mean, this is a 90s video game kind of throwback. What elements will they bring to the forefront? Like, is this going to be is it going to be a period piece? Is this going to be like a Gangs of New York in the 90s sort of thing? Like with the throwback costumes? Like I would really love to see something along those lines if it's going to be a period piece in the 90s. Would you set it in more modern day for like the street gang sort of elements, or the 90s?
90s for sure. I would want it to look as ridiculous as the video games. I would want a kangaroo doing boxing in this movie, because that's what you got in Streets of Rage 3.
There was a fan film that was put together years ago.
Fury?
Yes,
that's what I would want from this. Yeah,
this is, for some reason, this is what I'm thinking about when I think of Streets of Rage, bro.
I was thinking that too. Holy shit, that's hilarious.
And I would love to see, like, if we can get elements of Kung Fury, maybe not so over the top, but some aspects of that from the guy that does a John Wick movie. Yeah, give me that. But when I think of Streets of Rage, Kung Fury is the first thing that comes to my head, Stuart. I'm glad you knew exactly what I was talking about.
Because I kept thinking it the whole time. So the moment you said fan film, I'm like, oh, he's thinking the same thing.
Yeah, man. I think my friend Jonathan introduced me to that movie years ago, and I just absolutely fell in love with just how over the top it was. But I just mean like aesthetics wise, maybe even some graphics wise, clothing wise. I definitely want to have that feel of that type of movie with the street gang elements. But we'll see what we get.
Ooh. Actually, okay, so just making sure he's writing it, right? He's not directing it.
I believe he's just the writer of it, yeah.
You know who might actually be the perfect director for it if he's interested?
Who do you got?
Edgar Wright. Because look at him with Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I think he would be perfect for Streets of Rage.
I love that idea. I love me some Edgar Wright anyway, so that's right up my alley, man. But guys, go ahead and certainly let us know your thoughts. Streets of Rage. Looks like Sega is going to be bringing that property certainly to life with the success of Sonic. Do you feel pretty confident that they have an understanding of their video games that can really certainly bring these characters to life? What's your levels of enthusiasm, and what would you certainly like this movie to definitely be? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. And our next topic, we're going to go ahead and transition over to real quick. Shout out to Jared Hodges. And don't worry, I do see Devin. I know Dwayne's been asking some questions. We will jump back into the live chat after we've gone through over some of these topics and bring some of your thoughts and concerns out. But we do want to go ahead and continue on with our next topic here. And that will, in fact, lead us back to a topic we've talked about a couple of weeks ago in regards to the world of Voltron, Stuart, as Voltron is certainly back in the news. We've had some fantastic animated variations of that series over the years. Most recently, the Netflix Voltron Legendary Defender series, which if you guys have not had the opportunity to check it out, please do yourselves a favor. It's an amazing animated series. But now it's time for Voltron to certainly go ahead and be brought to live action. I feel like this is probably a film that's tried to be taken off the ground, if you will, for quite some time, and has definitely had its hiccups in the past. But it seems as though momentum is finally building for a Voltron movie. As we talked about a couple of weeks ago, there was a huge bidding war between several different streaming services to own the rights for a live action Voltron. And it seems as though, Stuart, as of this week, we may be getting closer to having an idea as to who might win this bidding war. Still plenty of time to go, but I did find this interesting to certainly talk about, as Deadline is in fact reporting that when it comes to winning the rights for a live action Voltron, it seems as though Amazon Studios may in fact be in the lead. This is coming to us from Deadline. Amazon Studios right now really pushing forward for a lot of original content. We've got Lord of the Rings, The Ring of Powers. The Rings of Power certainly headed our way, and it seems as though Amazon Studios wants to continue to hit us with the big properties, as apparently, according to Deadline, Amazon Studios leads the bidding war on Voltron with the Red Notice Helmer, Rawson Marshall Thurber. So this is an exclusive report. It says bidding is heating up on Voltron, a live action version that went out to the town recently, with Red Notice and Dodgeball's Rawson Marshall Thurber attached to direct. Deals not done yet, but Deadline hears that Amazon Studios is in talks to be home to the giant robot. Several studios have been in the mix on the property. But it does say that, it says several studios have been in the mix on the property, but Amazon Studios is currently leading. Voltron is based on the Japanese sci-fi series that became the 80s syndicate show Voltron, Defender of the Universe, about a group of pilots whose vehicles join together to form a giant robot. So, right now, pretty small update, but one that we wanted to give all of our Voltron fans so people knew exactly where this could potentially be going. So let me throw this over to you, Stuart. Of all the streaming services Voltron could have gone to, how do you feel about it possibly landing here on Amazon Prime?
I think it makes the most sense. Doing a live action Voltron movie, I imagine that would be really expensive to do. And Amazon has kind of shown with the numbers that they've been releasing with their upcoming Lord of the Rings series that they are not afraid to spend that money when it comes to, their quality, when it comes to the quality of their television shows and movies. And plus, like, we've also kind of seen it with one of their more recent movies with Chris Pratt, the time traveling one.
Oh, Tomorrow War, I think is that called?
Yeah, Tomorrow War. We've seen that Amazon is definitely not afraid to spend money on epic sci-fi fantasy type of films. So this really does seem right up their alley. Plus, Amazon also not just being a streaming service, but also being, a place that, can ship things and everything. I feel like if they want to, they could really take advantage of toy sales for Voltron after the movie comes out. So it's like they can basically profit from it in two different ways.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because I was going to say, one of the things I find interesting about Amazon is that because of the fact that they do have their subscriber base for Prime already, where you pay like 100 or something a month, like Amazon is in such a great position to be able to spend so much money on a lot of this content, right? Like it's very much opposite of that of Netflix in the sense that Amazon HBO Max, Disney, like they all have, not only do they have their own production companies and like they produce stuff certainly in-house, but they have other things that they can really fall back on to help make the profit so that they could have big budgets for these things, right? Like Disney's got their parks and stuff, Amazon's got Amazon Prime and things like that. So the idea that they don't necessarily have to worry so much about, you know, hey, we're going to lose subscriber count and lose a bajillion dollars. That's something they really don't have to worry about because they always have money kind of coming in. And of course, when you got somebody by the name of Jeff Bezos attached to your company, you can pretty much pay for anything that you want to. So I definitely can see Amazon being in the lead because of the fact of just how much money they probably have to spend. And I do think the momentum is certainly on their side with Lord of the Rings. They got a couple of other fantastic series that are currently going on right now. I think Voltron would be a really fantastic spot for this to certainly land, and we'll see if it comes how it's going to come out. Right now, Netflix, I'm pretty sure, I think they even said very early on that Netflix wasn't even in the running. And the part of me thinks because one, they already have the Voltron animated series, but two, they've also invested money in Hasbro's Power Rangers, which is kind of similar in that sense, but they're definitely fully invested in a cinematic universe on that side. And I think this is a great opportunity for more giant robots to be showcased somewhere else. And even though we've kind of seen a vision of what Netflix had in store for in its animation, I kind of want to see what the live action version of Voltron is going to be. I won't lie, Stuart. I am still very much concerned about this particular movie because while I enjoyed Red Notice for the fun that it was, I wasn't writing home about the great character development and the great storyline aspects of Red Notice. It was more or less the action and the fun that the cast wind up bringing forward for us. So I am kind of curious to see what this version of Voltron is certainly going to turn out to be. I do feel like there are some people that are great at comedy that can make really great action films and series and things like that. I think we've certainly have seen that in our time. So maybe there is something that Thurber Marshall, I can't remember his last name, I can't remember his full name, but maybe there is something special that he has in regards to this script that everybody's buzzing about that just needs to get their hands on. But I will be a little bit hesitant until I actually see something tangible for right now. But I do think Amazon Prime is a great place for this. So we'll see if they certainly win out. Are you concerned? Are you worried at all based off of who's doing this movie? Or are you going in pretty open-minded?
I'm going in as open-minded as I can, but I do kind of agree. It is definitely an odd choice for directing this movie, but at least we also know that he knows how to do action scenes decently, even if the action scenes were played more for laughs rather than like actual trying to be like epic. That said, though, one thing I do know that he'll probably be able to get right, though, because a lot of comedy writers, when it comes to kind of the more epic movies, are able to do. I do think that we can look forward to good character interactions because comedy writers tend to be really good at that kind of thing. And given that, the whole thing about Voltron is that all the characters have to be in sync for him to work, like, emotionally, so not just like in sync in terms of skill, but also in sync in terms of just making sure they're all on the same page, they're all a family. I do think he might be able to do a good job of that. He did a great job of it with the movie Dodgeball, with the relationship between the main characters in that film. So if we get something similar to that, I think it can work.
Yeah, you might be right. You definitely might be right, especially considering just the characters that we know in the series already, especially with Pidge and Hunk and their relationship together. Lance being the oddball, being the quirky and funny one of the group. So there definitely are elements of humor that certainly will go a long way for the Voltron. But you're right. Again, we have seen those people that have dabbled in comedy, maybe in a little bit of action, be able to really capture a fantastic balance between it all. But we'll see. We'll see what the storyline is going to turn out to be. And we'll definitely keep you guys posted regardless as to where exactly this movie will be landing. But as of right now, Amazon Prime certainly looks to be in the lead. So we'll definitely continue to be open-minded, guys, and keep you posted. And then last but not least, the last topic that we're going to go ahead and dive into, me and Stuart, we're going to get into our Star Wars bag a little bit as we continue to get hyped and build anticipation for the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi series, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, May 25th is certainly going to be here, and when it does get here, so will the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Entertainment Weekly has been talking about it over the past couple of weeks. We recently just got introduced to a brand new cover for, I believe it was a Total Film magazine, as they had an Obi-Wan Kenobi cover. So it wouldn't surprise me if within the next week or so we start getting even more interviews and details from the season out from some of these magazines that we've had over the past couple of weeks. But this week, we actually have two articles that we're going to be talking about as Hayden Christensen prepares to get ready for his role as Darth Vader. And they also had the opportunity to talk to Liam Neeson himself. So let's go ahead and tackle both of these here, Stuart, because I definitely want to go ahead and pick your brain in regards to it. The first one, we got to talk about Liam Neeson here real quick, right? Because considering his role as Qui-Gon from The Phantom Menace, who unfortunately met his demise, Liam Neeson has come back to Star Wars in the past to voice over Qui-Gon in some of that animation stuff that we've seen, I believe maybe from Rebels, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe from Clone Wars. I can't remember last time that we saw Qui-Gon in his ghost form, but he certainly
Clone Wars
was
season
Clone Wars?
6, I believe.
So he definitely has popped up for sure. If anything, I think in the back of my head, and maybe in the back of some Star Wars fans' head, is the idea of maybe speculating and theorizing that maybe Liam Neeson might want to come back for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series and reprise his role. And when asked that question, asked to whether or not he would reprise his role, I thought Liam Neeson gave a pretty interesting answer here. And let's go ahead and dive into this real quick. This is from StarWarsNewsNet.com. This comes to us from them. It says, Liam Neeson says he's only interested in returning to Star Wars on the big screen, Stuart, on the big screen. Let's go ahead and pull this up. It says Liam Neeson might be one of Hollywood's busiest men, but he isn't completely ruling out a return to the galaxy far, far away. Although he says any return as Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn would have to be on the big screen in a film. Skeptical fans can rightfully speculate Neeson is doing a classic bit of deflection and misdirection, as many believe Neeson will return for Obi-Wan Kenobi, but the Jedi Master is doing his best to throw curveballs into the mix, regardless of what the truth ends up being. So they did speak with Liam Neeson, comicbook.com did, who opted not to ask the director about any potential return to the series, instead asking Neeson would he ever consider coming back to Star Wars if given the chance. And he says, oh, I think so. Yeah, I think so. If it was a film, is what he says. Yeah, I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to TV, I must admit. I just like the big screen, you know? So we get to see a little bit of a bougie side of Liam Neeson there, kind of like me. I don't watch DVDs anymore. Give me that Blu-ray stuff, man. Give me that Blu-ray, that top quality. So I get the bouginess and where Liam Neeson is certainly coming from to that extent. But he does say after a pause, Neeson continued when reminiscing about The Phantom Menace. He says, Qui-Gon, man, I can't believe it's 24 years since we've made Star Wars The Phantom Menace. I just can't believe where the time has gone. It was a terrific experience shooting that film in London. So he says he's always open to certainly returning, but that if he is going to return, he wants to do it on the big screen as a film, since he is bougie and feels some type of way about television. Liam Neeson, look, man, I love you, but you lying, bro. You lying to me. Don't lie to me, Liam. Don't lie to me. I know you're in this series. I know you're in this series. I really don't know you're in this series, but I know you're in this series. Don't lie to me. Do you see? Don't lie to me, Liam. I know you're in this movie. I know you're in this. I just think, Stuart, I think actors these days, have just perfected the art of lying these days. Congratulations to Andrew Garfield. You've somehow started a track record for everybody now. Everybody now is just going to deny anything. And you know what? I'm going to deny your deny. All right. I'm just not going to believe anything these people say anymore. I'm just going to be fully invested to believing you're in this television series regardless. I think this is just deflection. Watch me be completely wrong, and he doesn't even pop up in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that's fine. This is definitely a sword I'm willing to certainly die on. It just feels weird that he wouldn't want to come back. Ewan McGregor's returning, Liam. Hayden Christensen is returning, Liam. You're not going to return because it's film. Get out of here with that, bro. You're in this series. You got to be in this series. If Obi-Wan does not talk to Qui-Gon at some point in time in a ghost form, I just feel like a missed opportunity. And granted, who knows? Maybe 10 years have passed. Maybe this particular story, they just won't focus on it. But damn, Stuart, I got to believe this man is in this series. He don't even have to be in the entire series. One episode. Give me a 5-minute scene of him coming back as... Stuart, he's lying, bro. He's lying. He's in it. What do you think, man? Do you think he's in this?
I mean, he's contradicted himself because he's reprised the role of Qui-Gon Jinn twice.
Yes!
Once in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and then even before the Clone Wars, he reprised his role in Robot Chicken, playing a parody role regardless, but still he played it the same way he did in the movies. So yeah, I also am right with you. Like, I'm not going to be disappointed if we're both wrong and he ends up not being in the show. I'll just be a little bit surprised. I'm pretty sure he's going to be in it. And especially because they really hinted at Obi-Wan contacting Qui-Gon Jinn, after the events of Episode 3, both in Star Wars: The Clone Wars and Star Wars Episode 3. You have Yoda talking with Liam Neeson's character, and then you also have at the end of Episode 3 Yoda telling Obi-Wan that he knows of a way where he can contact Qui-Gon Jinn and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think he's going to be in the show. I think it'll only be for one episode, and I don't even know if we're going to physically see him. It might just be a voice, but regardless, I am willing to slap bet anyone that he's going to be in
it. Yeah, man. And you're right. Like, you can be on Robot Chicken, but you can't be in an Obi-Wan Kenobi series, my guy. Come on, bro. No, you're in here. You're in here. Don't lie to us like that. But I get it. He's doing his duty. He's got to dodge the sniper scopes that are following him around everywhere that he goes, if you're Star Wars or Marvel. So I get it. I get what they're certainly doing these days. But, man, I got to think that this guy is in this limited series in some capacity. But we want to know your guys' thoughts. You've seen Liam Neeson return to do voiceovers for Qui-Gon in the past. Do you think the idea of him coming on board for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is too much to ask, or do you think he's certainly in this? And honestly, Stuart, I would just say this. I just think his ideas of him being too bougie because he wants to be in films and not TV. These days, television is extended film, if you ask me. I think the way that it's just being presented, they're presenting these things to us as like 6-hour-long movies, if you will. The production quality is that of an actual movie, being on the big screen or not. I think Liam Neeson's just talking out his ass at this point, but we'll see, man. We'll see.
It must be kind of frustrating for actors because you have to come up with all these lies that people know that you're lying, but you have to because it's in your contract. It comes off as a high schooler who got drunk at a party, needs their parents to pick him up, and refuses to acknowledge this because they're drunk, and they're like, "No, Mom, seriously, I'm just not feeling well. That's it."
Absolutely, man. That's exactly what it feels like. But we'll see what happens. I cannot wait for this series. Really looking forward to it. So while Liam Neeson wants to deny that he's in it, two people that are in this is, in fact, Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. As Entertainment Weekly this week gave us a glimpse in regards to how both of these characters are, or both of these actors, at least I should say, are in fact preparing for this role. We've got Ewan McGregor, according to the Obi-Wan, according to the Entertainment Weekly, it says that was the situation for Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen when they picked up their laser swords once again for Disney Plus series Obi-Wan. So did the man playing the title character go back and watch any of the old Star Wars films to help reacclimate himself with Obi-Wan? any of the old films, try all of them. He says, even the ones his character wasn't in. He says, I watched them from start to finish, is what McGregor said. All 9 films just to get back in the world. It also says, sorry, Rogue One and Solo, you didn't quite make the cut. So Ewan McGregor sounds like he went ahead and watched all 9 films once again, prequel, original, and sequel trilogy. And it says it turns out this was the first time McGregor watched the prequels since they were originally released. He says it was interesting to watch our films because I hadn't seen them since they came out, not at all. So it was cool to see and interesting to watch them and enjoy them without all the noise that was around them when they came out. Do you find that interesting, Stuart, that this is the first time he's actually gone back and rewatched his films?
Very interesting. And I'm kind of jealous because that's me with a lot of movies I like. I wish I could just, stop myself from watching them for a while so that way I can come back to them and then just have that same feeling I had when I first watched them. But unfortunately, I'm the kind of person that can't do that. If I like a movie, I'm definitely going to be watching it within probably within a year after I watched it previously.
I feel you there. He says that's not the only prep McGregor did. He also delved into into the entire genre. He says I started reading science fiction. Ian M. Banks is a Scottish writer, and I started reading his sci-fi novels. I kind of didn't do it the first time. I did absolutely study Alec Guinness and watched the original 3 films when he did the first one, but I didn't really think about the genre. And it's not something I would normally do, but this time I did. I got jazzed about being back in space because I really love it as a movie watcher. So that's definitely something he's a big fan of. It says, while McGregor went back and watched the entire Skywalker series or saga, Christensen went even deeper into Star Wars canon. This is what Hayden said. He said, I went back and rewatched all the films. I also got into the animated shows, Clone Wars and Rebels. It does say that it was interesting. He says after binging Clone Wars and Rebels, they did a lot with these characters in these shows, and they did further explore the relationship. There was interesting stuff there to learn about. It was great fun getting to go back and re-immerse yourself in this world that just continues to grow and become more and more vast. And you know what, Stuart? I got to say, man, I really love hearing Christensen say that. I think it not only continues to bring value to the levels of greatness that is the animated show for Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, but there are definitely character moments and development for his arc between Obi-Wan and Anakin that really comes a long way, that fills in a lot of that gap between that and Revenge of the Sith, which one would make me wonder, did Hayden watch those and then think of his performance in Revenge of the Sith and kind of think to himself, man, there's probably more things I probably could have drawn from. But granted, the Clone Wars cartoon series, I don't think was out when we wind up getting Revenge of the Sith like that, at least. But I got to think that going back and rewatch it maybe even just adds to more of his own character development, seeing where Vader has come from his time in Revenge of the Sith to where he's going to be at in Rebels, and as an actor for Hayden to be able to fill in those blanks with his own performance and put the kind of pieces together. I'm really interested to kind of see what Hayden's going to bring now that he's got more of that knowledge to help build up his character for this particular time period in his life. And I think we're really going to see a different side to Hayden Christensen that we hadn't seen before in the prequels. And I think for me, that's really what is getting me excited. And it's also gotten me excited because I'm doing the same thing too. I'm actually rewatching the Clone Wars animated series to get myself caught up to this particular moment in Obi-Wan's life. So I know the emotional and relationship journey that these two characters have definitely been on. So to see somebody like Hayden Christensen doing the same thing and building his character off of that really makes me excited to kind of see how much more these two actors have matured and understand their characters since their time that they played them originally. That really does get me excited. But what about you, Stuart, when you hear this about what Ewan along with Hayden had to do to go ahead and get refamiliarized and get educated for these characters before diving back into them?
I think what excites me about these two is that both of them are going above and beyond, which kind of gives me the idea that they're just as excited about playing these roles again as we are
Definitely.
seeing them in these roles again. Hayden Christensen, if he decided he didn't want to be in this show, if he had decided, he was done with Star Wars, I don't think anyone would blame him. And I think it would be extremely understandable just given the shit he went through, like after Revenge of the Sith, all the crap he got from people, telling him how he was like a bad actor and everything. And for me personally, while his performance, like his dialogue never really worked for me, watching the prequel trilogy. I do still think he was trying really hard, and he does have like some really good facial expressions, like when it comes to trying to portray his emotions. Like he does it really good with his face. It's just I feel like the dialogue was what really kind of killed it, unfortunately, because just I love George Lucas, but he's awkward when it comes to writing dialogue. And I think with the prequel trilogy, there weren't enough editors to kind of like help him articulate a lot of, the things he wanted his characters to say. There was no one to really help him like have a better way of doing it. And I think that was like kind of one of the biggest issues going into this. But all that being said, I'm glad to know that he's excited for this role. And I feel like now more than ever will be the time where we really get to see his true potential shine. And again, with both him and Ewan McGregor, like, I feel like they both could have just rewatched the prequel trilogies and that would have been, totally enough for the fans. But the fact that Hayden went above and beyond to rewatch or to watch for the first time the Clone Wars, and then Ewan McGregor is going out of his way to read sci-fi novels, which, give you a whole new perspective of the sci-fi genre because you're reading it through a novel instead of watching it on film. It really goes to show that both of them are as excited to play this role as we are to see them, and it gets me even more excited.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think for me, it makes me even more hopeful that, these two are here to stay when it comes to the Star Wars universe. The fact that he's so invested in learning more about Anakin and his story does make me wonder, do they have future plans for him as Darth Vader in other series and other stuff, right? Like, I think we'll probably see him in Ahsoka once again, whether that be a flashback sequence. There's already some talk about there being flashback sequences in Obi-Wan from their time in the Clone Wars together, which I think would be really great to kind of see. But there is something just really special about having so much distance and time since the prequels and being able to see these actors come back to play their roles. It just shows me that they've always truly cared about these characters. And now that we're in a different time period and wounds have certainly healed since the prequels, it almost feels like they can attack these characters again with like more vigor and excitement and like on a, just a I don't want to say a blank slate, but just with fresh eyes, you know what I mean? And I think that type of stuff is really going to go a long way. So I hope Ewan and Hayden are certainly here to stay and that they continue to pop up in Star Wars projects as they become announced. But yeah, man, I love all the hard work that's really going into it. And I agree with you. The hard work that they're putting in shows me that they're truly excited to be playing these characters again, guys. So yeah, let us know your thoughts on some of the topics that we talked about when it comes to the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Sexy Mofo says, did Hayden also watch himself in Revenge of the Sith? Yeah, he absolutely did. He watched them. It looks like he watched all the movies along with Clone Wars and Rebels as well. So yeah, man, he's definitely doing his research. Any last words in regards to that, Stuart?
I'm excited as ever for this show, and I really want it to come out already.
Yeah, man, it'll be here soon, guys. Mark your calendars. May 25th, almost exactly a month away. So we will be seeing the return of Obi-Wan Kenobi. But with that out of the way,
I wish they would just release it right after Moon Knight ends.
I guess that's true. I guess there will be a little bit of a gap. Is there any other Marvel show that's dropping after Moon Knight?
Oh, Miss Marvel, but that's not until like June, right?
Until June. Okay, so maybe that's something that'll drop. Okay, yeah, I guess maybe that. I wonder if that'll drop the same time as Obi-Wan, or if like Obi-Wan will release on Thursday and maybe Miss Marvel on Wednesday. I don't know. We'll definitely keep you guys posted and see how they drop those. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts and anticipation level for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. All right, Stuart, and I think with that out of the way, that will wrap up all of our topics today, guys. So thank you very much, guys, for everybody that certainly participated. As Stuart, I think you know what time it is.
It's time for live viewer questions.
I will before we get into live viewer questions, though, I am gonna bring up Dwayne's comment because he's been asking this damn question all episode long. I've been saying we're gonna get back to it, but Dwayne, here we go. He says, "How do you?" I got a question. Why the CW? Hold on, I feel like he's said this a lot better and clearer. And hold on one second. Damn it, Dwayne. Where did your question go? He said, I got a question. You watch Naomi. God, did that show suck? No action. The CW, they're better or to Painkiller. I don't know why they didn't want to do Painkiller and Naomi just straight up no good. Yeah, I'm sure there's certainly probably some pushback towards Naomi right now. I haven't minded this series. I was excited for the series when it first started. It has been very much a slow burn, although I do think that they are starting to reveal a little bit more, but I think maybe it's just a little bit too much of a slow burn. There's a lot of question marks, very little superheroing certainly going on. You know, this definitely feels very much like an origin story. So I can see why people might be turned off about Naomi. I don't mind the series. I enjoy it because there are some really great characters. I think I love the supporting characters attached with Naomi. I think Casey Wallfall, that plays Naomi, is a fantastic actress. But I would be lying if I said that I did not want more from this series. I definitely do. And considering the fact that this feels like we are at the halfway point of the series, I am hoping and hopefully expecting the back half of this to be a little bit more eventful. I have enjoyed the Scooby-Doo mystery aspect of things and the reveals that are certainly coming out of it, some great twists and turns, but it definitely has been a slow burn, and I think maybe too slow of a burn for some people. So I understand the pushback that the series has gotten. Whether or not I would have preferred Painkiller over Naomi, probably. I probably would have. But I don't blame him for trying this out. I just wish maybe the execution and of it was a little bit better in regards to how they've tackled it so far. Have you had the opportunity to check out the Naomi stuff at all, Stuart?
I think I was watching the first 2 or 3 episodes. I fell off of it because it feels like the overall mystery is just really simple and they're trying to act like it's extremely complicated. But that being said, my whole thing is I've had these kind of complaints about other shows in the past, and oftentimes I've been wrong by the time we got to the ending of the seasons, and it turns out to be something a lot cooler that I didn't expect. So for me with Naomi, I'm just going to wait until the show comes on to HBO Max, because I think watching the show weekly is just, it gets really boring and there's not really anything to get me intrigued for the next episode. I do want to say though, I don't think it's a bad show. I do think it's well acted for the most part. I mean, from the younger actors, I think the adults are actually kind of wooden at times, but the young actors are doing really good. You know, and I do think the characters themselves are really intriguing, and I do hope to learn more about them, you know, when I do eventually get back into the show. I just think the overall story and the pacing of it's just, it's a little too boring for me. And I think if I binge it, you know, that aspect of it, the pacing would be a lot better.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I definitely would agree with you there. All right. With that out of the way, we will transition over to live viewer questions. If we have some time, we'll jump back into the live chat with you guys. But we got ourselves a bunch of emails here, Stuart. So we're going to try and go through them. I am seeing some duplicates, people that have sent in emails and stuff. Again, just one email a week, guys, is all we're asking. So if there are duplicates in here, if I don't respond or answer the questions from your duplicates, that's why. If I see your name twice, I'm only going to pick one email, just so make your questions and stuff clear, and the questions that you certainly want. So one email per person. If as of right now, if you want to do 1 to 3 questions, that's certainly more than fine. But one email per person. Jessica Friedman, what's up, Jessica? Do you think Jonathan will get powers like his brother and his dad? And would you like to see the new Batgirl go to theaters? I'll answer the last aspect, and you can answer the first, Stuart. Yes, I would like to see the new Batgirl go to theaters. What about you, Stuart? That's really the only thing I wanted to say. I just think the idea of it being on HBO Max is such a disservice, especially with Leslie Grace. Apparently, she's been doing great work as Batgirl. You got Michael Keaton in there. It's really adding a brand new lore and dimension to the DCEU. If you're moving Blue Beetle from HBO Max to theaters, I don't see why Batgirl, somebody that's taking place in this Bat universe, shouldn't get a theatrical release also. But that's just me. What are your thoughts? Do you want to see Batgirl go to theaters? And do you think Jonathan will get powers like his brother?
Yeah, I want to see it go to theaters, and it seems kind of it would be kind of weird now that this is going to be our introduction to Michael Keaton back as Batman. It'd be kind of weird not to put in theaters. Sorry. As for the first question with Jonathan, I think he is going to get powers at the end of the season. The way he's going to get it, I think it's all going to be. It all kind of comes from what they say with the two different, dimensions. How they're like everything missing from you is in that other version of yourself, in that kind of like reverse reality dimension. I keep forgetting what they're calling this because it's not another Earth. It's another it's basically a mirror dimension. So I'm not sure what they're officially calling it. But regardless, we know that world's Jordan Kent is dead. And we also know that our world's Jordan Kent has superpowers. So I'm wondering if that's what it kind of is. The part of Jonathan Kent that doesn't have superpowers, he doesn't have powers because his other self has powers and they can't both have powers at the same time. So I think that Jonathan Kent from that world will eventually die. And then Jonathan Kent from our world will get his superpowers.
I like the way you're thinking, man. I like
Yeah.
the way you're thinking. We got Francois, who is the best original MCU character that doesn't appear in the comics. Who is the best original MCU character that doesn't appear in the comics? I don't think they've created an original character yet, have they?
Oftentimes when they have original characters, they keep getting retconned into becoming characters from the comics, like with Hawkeye's wife, how she was just, a woman that he liked, and then now she's Mockingbird.
I think they all appear in the comics. I don't know of any MCU original character.
I mean, I guess you could say a lot of the supporting characters are.
Yeah, that's like Luis.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Luis is a great character. Yeah. Pretty sure he's not in the comic books.
Maybe even Agent Coulson, right? I think Coulson
was in the comics.
He was in the comics before that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I keep wanting to say Happy, but no, even Happy's in the comics too.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of supporting characters, man. Stephen Trevor Slattery, the guy who was the fake Mandarin in Iron Man 2.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I really like him in Shang-Chi as the supporting character, so he was great in that. Actually, Shang-Chi's friend, she definitely wasn't in comic books.
Shang-Chi. Oh, that's true. Yeah, she definitely wasn't either. Let me see here. I'm trying to look at some other. Darcy's kind of hit or miss for me sometimes. But yeah, so it's definitely much more of a supporting characters than actual superhero characters from the MCU. And what do you think of Zack Snyder's version of the Justice League movie compared to the original? What other movies would you like to see get a director's cut? I kind of want to see David Ayer's Suicide Squad cut just out of pure curiosity as to how different it is. But I love Zack Snyder's version of Justice League so much better. It's just so much more epic. It just feels like a very operatic, just epicness, man. It's just how vast it is. The incredible amounts of storytelling, the great jaw-dropping moments. It's not a perfect film by any stretch of the imagination. There are definitely some moments where I roll my eyes or I'm like, what? Why the fuck is this even in the movie? So there definitely are some moments. But I think in regards to seeing what Zack Snyder was trying to put together, I think especially if you watch Man of Steel, BVS, and then his Justice League together, it's a pretty epic thing that Zack Snyder wind up creating. So yeah, I'm a big fan of his version compared to the movie.
Yeah, for sure. My only issue with it is that it's 4 hours long, pretty much. I genuinely think if you were to make a theatrical version of that movie, it would be really good. But yeah, definitely Zack Snyder's. What was the other part of the question? I forgot.
What other movie would you like to see get a director's cut?
What's it called? Event Horizon. Yeah, wait, is it Event? Yeah, Event Horizon. Yeah,
okay.
Because a lot of that movie ended up getting cut because they thought it was like too graphic, and so you essentially had like a cut of the movie that was just like test audiences were uncomfortable watching, and so they had to recut it. And unfortunately, as far as I know, like it's not necessarily gone, but it's lost. Like all the footage that they didn't get to use in the movie is pretty much gone.
Well, I didn't even know that one, honestly.
Yeah.
All right. Next couple questions. This is from Ionis. Appreciate you coming through, Ionis. What are some rumors that came true in the MCU and DCEU? Oh God.
Literally everything about No Way Home. that was one where I was like kind of pissed because all those clickbaity articles that I just like was like, yeah, whatever. I assumed they were all going to turn out to be false. No, every single one of them is true, and now that's why every time I see a rumor about Multiverse of Madness, I get worried that that's a spoiler because I'm like, there's actually a possibility this is real now.
Yeah, everything that we read on into the Multiverse of Madness is going to come true, man. As many reshoots that we've been reshoots as we've been reading, I feel like everything that's been a rumor about this movie is coming to fruition.
Oh, actually, you know what rumor I hope isn't true then? I hope the rumor of Ezra Miller making a cameo as the Flash isn't true. And I'm not even kidding. That's one because of
no, it's not going to happen. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
definitely not anymore.
They've cut that shit.
The rumor started because Ezra was on set of Guardians of the Galaxy to shoot their cameo for Peacemaker, and that's where the rumor started that they might have shot more. I don't think it's true at all. Let me just put it that way. I think even if there wasn't the controversy that was going on, I still wouldn't believe that rumor at all.
I get you. Let's see. He also says, did you ever hear about Christopher Nolan's pitch of a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie? This did make my ears go up when I read this. I was like, Christopher Nolan pitched a Power Ranger movie? And then I go to the link and it says pitching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to Christopher Nolan. This was like 9 years ago. And it's a Mighty Morphin idea. No, here's my pitch detailing how Hollywood could turn something that took millions of 90s kids by storm in the into the darkest and grittiest story. Yada yada yada. So this isn't Christopher Nolan's pitch on Power Rangers. This is clearly somebody pitching Power Rangers to Christopher Nolan. So I'm not gonna dive into that. That's like a fan fiction pitch. I don't want to get into all that. Unless you do, Stuart.
I mean, I'll just give my thoughts. I think that's a terrible idea. It sounds like what the pitch is.
It's a long
is like
pitch,
dark and gritty for the sake of being dark and gritty. Which there's a fun fan film that I actually really do enjoy of Power Rangers on YouTube, where it's like it's like almost like what it would look like if Zack Snyder directed Power Rangers. And I love it as a fan film. I love it for what it is. But if Hollywood was dead serious and they wanted to make this, gritty for the sake of being gritty, R-rated Power Rangers reboot, it would be terrible. I'm sorry. But a gritty Power Rangers, if it's only gritty for the sake of being gritty, it's a terrible idea.
If anything, maybe I'll send you the link if you want to go ahead and read the entire pitch later. Since this isn't a real pitch from Christopher Nolan about a Power Ranger movie, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But I will send it to you, Stuart, if you want to go ahead and check it out. Okay. Cole's got a couple comments and questions. With Gal Gadot sharing some updates about Wonder Woman 3, how do you think the third film will be produced during the new DC merger? And what do you want to see in the new film? Plus, how will she operate following the events of BVS and Justice League? Is she aware of what went down in Shazam and Aquaman? Will she make her reference to her pseudo cameo in Peacemaker? And with Linda Carter making a surprise appearance at the end of Wonder Woman 84. I will be interested to kind of see what happens with Wonder Woman 3. I do think that the movie will be made. When you've got somebody like Gal Gadot, she's definitely going to bring in the money. This time around, I kind of want to see Patty Jenkins just direct. I don't want to see her write this movie. She didn't write, I don't believe she did the treatment for the first Wonder Woman movie, but she did for the second one along with Jeff Johns, and it really underwhelmed for me. So I would love to see her back in the directing table, not necessarily the writer's room for Wonder Woman 3. But I do think it's a great potential there for her to wrap up the trilogy. And I kind of want to see it take place in more modern times. She asked the questions of, is she going to comment, or is she aware of the events that happened in BVS and Superman and Shazam and yada, yada, yada. I think that's one of the reasons why I kind of want to see this next installment kind of in present day. I kind of want to see how she responds to not only the things that have happened in her own past from the past wars she's been a part of, but also what's taking place in modern day, and give her more modern day story. What about you though, Stuart? How would you like to see Wonder Woman 3?
Pretty much agree what you just said. I think another reason I want to see it in modern times is one other of the many issues I had with the second one is that the events that took place were just so significant. It makes zero sense that they never get brought up in Man of Steel, Dawn of Justice, or Justice League. So I think if you have it taking place in modern times, whatever happens like during that, you don't have to worry about that same issue. Like the idea of every single human in the world getting their wish grant, but then somehow also convincing them all to, retract their wish immediately afterwards. You don't have to deal with, like people wondering why that doesn't get brought up in present time,
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Joey Thompson. What's up, Joey Thompson? He's got a couple questions. What did you guys think of A Man of Steel years later? He says, I feel like Man of Steel was one of the best DCEU movies and was a great start to a connected universe if the movies followed it weren't so bad. Man of Steel has to be one of the best VFX works, and the movie looked amazingly great, and it had some minor flaws, but it didn't stop it from being a great film. And the action, one of the best portrayals of Superman's immense power. Did you guys like Superman snapping Zod's neck, as it was one of the main point of controversy of the movie? It's the same. Henry hasn't had any more standalone Superman films. It's probably one of the biggest disservices to comic book movies these days. I wish it would happen, but I'm not holding my breath. I always remember Reeves as being the Superman, and I adore Tom Welling's contribution to the character. Didn't think I'd love another actor donning the cape, but here I am. Henry needs another standalone movie. You're speaking to the choir here in me, Joey. Like I totally agree, man. I think if they, this new merger, if they do change out our Superman and revitalize him by giving us a new Superman, I do think it's probably one of the biggest missed opportunities with the Henry Cavill Superman that we've seen. But that's just me personally. But going back to the question, I will start off with you, Stuart. What did you guys think of The Man of Steel, especially maybe looking at it years later? When was the last time you watched it, Stuart? Do you recall?
I don't remember the last time I watched it, but yeah, it's one of those movies that every time I watch it, I like it less and less. So I try not to watch it too much anymore. I feel like the main thing that just annoys me every time I watch it is anytime Kevin Costner is on screen. And
you just don't like him as Pac-Man, huh?
I just don't. Not only is his acting not his best in this movie, but also just like the lines he's given are so freaking contradictory that it just bothers me every time. I do agree, though. I love the visual effects. I still think this movie looks incredible, and I love looking at it. And I really think that him snapping Zod's neck is not as bad as people try to act like it is. They're acting like this is like very out of character for Superman. And what would have been out of character, to my opinion, is if Zod lost his powers and Superman snapped his neck after that, like he did in Superman 2, but no one likes to talk about that for some reason. Everyone pretends Superman is the Boy Scout, but like he literally kills Zod after Zod is powerless,
And he goes and mind you, he goes back to the diner in Superman 2 to confront the gentleman that picked a fight with him, knowing he's got his powers back, and
Yeah.
he throws homeboy across the dining table using his powers against a helpless human being. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Is that Superman to you? I don't think so.
So, I don't think the snapping his neck was as bad as everyone says, especially because I think in the comics he would have done the same thing. This was it's either Zod or the innocent family he's about to zap situation. That was like one where it's like you either kill one person or these three people die. And I think Superman in the comic books would have made that decision. And I know that there's Superman writers that would disagree with me on that, but that's how I kind of feel about that scene. I don't think it's as bad as people like to pretend it is.
And I think also in hindsight, we tend to put our own vision on the characters in regards to what we feel their beliefs are. And we kind of forget to recognize the vision of what the filmmaker is trying to make, right? Like, we come into a movie with years of Superman experience and knowing how he handles situations. But the filmmaker is trying to showcase a movie of a Superman very early in his stages, literally donning the cape for like hours before he's got to face off against other Kryptonians, right? So it is very much a Superman that hasn't quite learned his lessons, or to get to where we view him as a Boy Scout. And that's very much what Zack Snyder was trying to accomplish in regards to bringing us a Superman very early in his time in Man of Steel. And then I think he had like a 5-movie arc to get us to a Man of Steel 2 that would eventually showcase Superman sort of in that Boy Scout way that we've sort of seen him through, but based off of the struggles and the stuff that he's gone through in his movie. But again, we tend to project our own stuff on one movie without really letting the filmmaker tell the story that he certainly wants to at times. So I do think sometimes we are certainly at fault in that regards. But to go back to the question, for me, Stuart, while seeing the movie for you makes you enjoy it less and less, I continue to love it more and more, in the sense that I feel like it's such an underappreciated comic book movie, if not one of the bigger underappreciated movies of comic book wise, certainly out there. I continue to really enjoy it each and every time. To be able to see somebody like Superman try and find his way in here, all of a sudden being thrusted against his own people. There is something really fascinating about it that I really continue to enjoy. The VFX, I would agree with you, Joey, are incredible. Seeing his first flight along with the Hans Zimmer soundtrack and score gives me goosebumps and chills every time that I watch it. One of the biggest complaints people used to have about Superman movies was, we don't really get to see Superman facing off against really big threats, right? Or, destruction, and just how real these big Titan fights would certainly be. I mean, we had Christopher Reeves, which back in the day, clearly the technology was limited, but they still did a pretty good job in Superman 2, if you ask me, of the battle. We had the Superman Returns, which saw him against Lex Luthor. Again, not a really big alien fight or anything like that. Man of Steel, I think for me, was like the first showcase of what a true Superman fight would certainly be. And even then, Stuart, people pushed back. Oh, too much destruction. Come on, guys.
Ooh,
like,
okay, I do have a complaint with that though.
Go for it.
I do not like that there wasn't a scene dedicated to getting people to safety, especially because they had prep time for this. And Superman had the entire, Department of Defense working with him. So when people talk about I'm not mad about the destruction.
Right.
I'm mad about, how many casualties there were and how it felt like they didn't do enough to try to prevent him. And then on top of that, everything is so happy at the end. It's like they don't acknowledge the fact that a lot of people died. And everyone's just happy because Clark's like, hey, I'm with Lois Lane now. Hooray. Like, dude, thousands of people just died.
Yeah, thousands of people died. It was the levels of destruction were ridiculous. Going into that movie, I had no idea what I was going to expect, but I just thought it was a real sort of as grounded in the sense of the level of destruction that probably would happen very much on a first contact basis between these two Goliaths, meeting each other for the very first time, sort of thing. And it was startling to watch, but there was something really enjoyable for me about it. So I really wish that we get ourselves a second one. I didn't care about the next snap. I think the fact alone that we see Superman express himself the way that he does in the guttural scream, I think says everything that we need to know about that moment to justify what he certainly did. And it just kind of worked for me that way. But, sometimes I feel very much the only person on an island that tends to really enjoy Man of Steel. And I could gush about it for hours. I certainly won't. But, so I appreciate the question this week, Joey. Thank you very much, man, for allowing me to talk about it. We got Gabriel in here. He's got a couple questions. With the DC merger thing going on with the DCEU, do you think the CW Arrowverse will be affected as well? Some of the shows will be canceled. We know that there are talks of fans that want every show to be canceled, more specifically The Flash. So do you think the merger will affect the CW Arrowverse in that way?
I think it's a huge possibility. I think like with the Arrowverse, there's two things going against it right now. Not only the merger, but also like the CW itself still like in the process of being sold to someone else, which we still don't know who's going to be buying it. So yeah, it's really hard to say what the future of the Arrowverse is looking like. My only hope is that they at least allow all these different shows to give themselves closure. I know from for Legends and Batwoman, it's not looking too good so far because, there's been no news as to whether or not they're going to get renewed. Personally, I think it is going to happen just because, again, it goes to what the writers are doing on Twitter with their hashtags. I don't think they would be doing that if they weren't confident that it was going to be renewed. I think they're only doing that because they're confident that it's going to happen, or they probably already know that it's getting renewed, but they're not allowed to say it. Yeah, but if this ends up being like the last year with the Arrowverse, I really hope we can get like at least like a 10-year anniversary crossover and closure for a lot of the shows that may not continue.
I hope so too. I think that would be really great. I do kind of feel like the merger will affect them. For me, if anything, I think it'll be a case of, yeah, maybe it is a case of maybe starting to wrap up some of these shows. I know that they're just now producing shows like Gotham Knights and stuff. If anything, I would say I wouldn't be surprised if we start getting a more transition to HBO Max shows and less CW shows. So yeah, because I think there were even talks about them trying to even sell off the CW, weren't they?
Yeah.
And so because of the fact that they're trying to do that too, it does make me wonder if they may have other ideas as to where they put their content going forward. So I do think that maybe the HBO Max side of things may be where the future goes, but we'll see what happens within the next year or two. And if more shows continue to be announced on the CW or more cancellations headed our way, we'll definitely keep you posted though.
If they end up moving Superman and Lois to HBO Max, though, man, give it that Peacemaker budget, please. Because, like, it looks good with what it's given. Now imagine what it would look like if it got that kind of money.
Yeah, I would love that attention to detail. This is a part of me, Stuart, that just feels like maybe this might be the time where Warner Brothers does what Marvel did in regards to canceling a lot of their shows that were, I don't want to say subpar, but were on, like, Freeform, ABC. There was a lot of shows that we were supposed to be getting, like Ghost Rider, Runaways, which was on Hulu, right? A lot of those shows kind of taken off with the attention and focus turning to Disney Plus and their MCU stuff being all connected. I do wonder if that's the sense of where Warner Brothers is going, in a sense of now that we have this merger, new management, will they want more things more streamlined to where they can release their content and not have to worry about putting content elsewhere on smaller budgets? You know what I mean? And maybe save themselves some money and maybe put more money towards the HBO products. So I don't know. I am wondering if that's the direction they might be going. Gabriel also says, what did you think of the WandaVision series? And did you know that Paul Bettany teased did you know of Paul Bettany's tease of his return to the MCU following? Did you see the final trailer for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness? What did you think of Rachel McAdams' return? And do you think Strange will find himself in a dilemma where he sees her again, especially with the aftermath of Spider-Man No Way Home? So as far as the WandaVision series, it's definitely one that I enjoyed. Definitely unique and creative in its own sense, doing something that I've never seen the MCU tackle. And it was quite successful. I think it really worked for me. While I enjoyed it, I think it's probably maybe my least, well, no, not my least favorite, maybe my second to least favorite. But again, I don't think that's taking anything away from the characters and the story that they wind up providing. Because I do think WandaVision certainly was a great sort of appetizer before we get into the main course that is Doctor Strange 2. And I really enjoyed it. It was a little bit of a mind F, if you will, but one that I was certainly here for. I'm really glad that we got the opportunity to see brand new characters and really getting to see Elizabeth Olsen and really Paul Bettany shine. Like I think WandaVision, the best thing WandaVision did, I think, was propel Elizabeth Olsen and even Wanda into that stratosphere of leadership now. You know, the heads of the MCU as we know it, and seeing how big of a role they're going to be playing going forward. So I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, for me, I think WandaVision is still my second favorite of the MCU shows, with Falcon and the Winter Soldier still being probably my favorite out of them so far. I just really like how different it is from everything else we've gotten in the MCU. And I love that they really wanted to try new things with it. And I think, to me anyways, they definitely succeeded. And then going into Doctor Strange 2, with Rachel McAdams being back, I am really curious if we might get like a similar arc to that episode of What If with the alternate version of Doctor Strange, because we know that, because we know that Doctor Strange is going to be in this movie. So I'm kind of curious if we might end up seeing like a parallel between the two. Maybe not in this movie, but possibly going forward.
Yeah, or maybe he explains his story, and we get to see in recap form the What If story told in live action in some capacity. You know what I mean?
That would be so cool.
That would be pretty cool to kind of see how he got to that point, or like what changed him from our version of Stephen Strange. I would like to kind of see that come into fruition. But I always liked Rachel McAdams as an actress. So anytime they bring her on board, I'm a big fan of. I didn't really care too much about the first Doctor Strange movie. I thought it was just okay. But I did like Rachel McAdams in it for what it was. But I'm looking forward to it, though.
I just hope they give her more to do is the thing.
I get you. I get you. It's just so much going on in this movie. It just does make me wonder how much will some of these supporting actors and these cameos certainly have. Like, is she treated as a supporting character, or is she just more as a cameo? We'll see, though. He also says, for Fast and the Furious 10, would you like if Paul Walker's daughter, Meadow, has a brief cameo in the movie? Maybe she could be a relative of Brian, whoever we never met on screen, or just a different character entirely with no relation. Would you like to see Meadow, Paul Walker's daughter, in this movie?
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I'm not sure if she's an actor or not, but if she is, then yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what her abilities are, but if she's a good actor and you could find a place for her, sure, why not? Let's see here. Adam Perez got a couple of movie-related topics here. He says, Power Rangers absolutely has big potential, but it's currently being underutilized. Hasbro needs to find the same recipe as Marvel and Star Wars, which seems to have mastered the art of popularity with both adults and kids. The original PR fan base has grown up and has money to throw at the brand because of nostalgia. So I don't get why they're being ignored. We can never forget that the toxic side of the fandom is obsessed with Power Rangers being dark or no trace of kid aspects. But so he believes it's being underutilized, that Hasbro needs to find the same recipe as Marvel and Star Wars, which seem to have mastered the art of popularity with both adults and kids. What do you think to that?
I think they're just really in the phase now of just planning things out, because it seems like they have a lot that they want to do, especially with how much they're really hyping up Jonathan Entwistle. Sorry. And I think like the big thing is that now with Netflix kind of going through like a big financial change, it's very possible that that might be another factor within their overall delays of future Power Ranger content. But I don't think they're ignoring the fans. I think they're just taking their time, really trying to plan it out before they go through with everything. I think they just don't want to make the mistake that a lot of kind of cinematic universes tend to make, where they set up so much without actually planning ahead of what they're going to do with it. Because we've seen Sony make that mistake with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. We've seen Universal make that mistake with the Dark Universe. So I think they're just trying to make sure they don't. They want to be an MCU. They don't want to be a Dark Universe.
That's yeah, amen to that, right? Be an MCU, not a Dark Universe. That should be a quote or a T-shirt someday. But yeah, I think it's like an odd transition period right now, where a lot of the focus and attention of Hasbro has turned very much to really focusing on making sure you get this right. When you tell me you're investing in a world and in a universe, especially when it comes to anything cinematically interconnected, you got to make sure all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. And I think that's an interesting transition to have to make from what a franchise used to be to what you want the franchise to now be, so I think the underutilization, well, first off, Power Rangers has been underutilized for years before Hasbro even came on board. So I don't want to act like only Hasbro's is now just doing it. I think if anything, Hasbro is doing its best to tap into its fullest potential by giving us unique things like a 30th anniversary season, significantly different format wise, at least. Also rebooting and reimagining and all that stuff definitely takes a lot of hard work, and you really got to put everything in place to make sure your execution works out. So, maybe some fans maybe feel a little bit burned. I don't know. I mean, I feel like people that love the nostalgia aspect and want to spend money, I feel like they've been getting what they've wanted to. I feel like a lot of people have been saying that's too much nostalgia for one thing, and can we get other shows or other series from Power Rangers sort of thing. So I think it's just a balancing act that Hasbro's trying to acquire, and they find themselves in a transitional period where it's hard to focus on one thing and also try and push the franchise forward at the same time, because I do think what they're trying to achieve now is what you're asking for in regards to Marvel and Star Wars, right? Recognizing your audience has grown, being able to create content not only for kids, but also for the fans that have stuck around for nostalgia purposes, or, or older fans now after all these years. Your fan base has certainly grown. And I think this is Hasbro adapting to those changes. So give it some time, but I do think that they're doing their best to accommodate everybody.
Pretty much my thought is, if after next year, after whatever this 30th anniversary event is going to be for Power Rangers, if we don't really have any news after that for a while, that's when I'm going to be like, okay, now I'm starting to wonder if Hasbro even has a plan with the franchise.
Yeah, I get you there. He says, I also like the idea of a 45-minute series. I would make it more serious and definitely include time travel if debunked rumors still make it out, because that's always interesting as hell. For that reason, I think a good adaptation of Shattered Grid would put the franchise on the map. I also think adapting Green with Evil would be a hit because it tries and tested good versus evil story. So with tweaking, it would be a great concept for an adult Power Rangers show. We know Hasbro loves MMPR. Having any of these would be nice. Tommy is a huge beloved character by the general audiences. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would love time travel. I think with the exception of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the original series, anytime Power Rangers has done time travel after that, it's always been really well written, surprisingly, and very well thought out. Like, they really do think about how time consequences of the timeline can really affect the future, like in Time Force, for example. And then I also like how there's some kind of clever continuity that kind of goes into certain aspects about how they treat the rules of time travel, like the idea that, you know, if you time travel to the past, you know, there should be a requirement that you get your memory erased from those events, which we see that starts in Power Rangers SPD, which, you know, makes sense because that takes place before Time Force. And that's when they first come up with the idea of, hey, if we're erasing the memories of the people in the past, we should probably do the same to ourselves.
Yeah, I'm okay with time travel or not. Time travel for me can be great or it can be disastrous. So regardless if that's a storyline plot that makes it into the current script, we'll see. It was included as part of the leak in the previous script that we've had, but the current one, I'm not quite sure if time travel's still in there. We'll see. But I will say this, you know, I see a lot of people recommending the Shattered Grid be brought to live action, and I'm one of them that personally would like to see Shattered Grid make it to live action form, but that's just not the first movie I'm coming out of the gate swinging with. I think the idea that they have at least built themselves a cinematic universe could eventually lead us to a Shattered Grid kind of storyline or event film. But I think you got to earn that first. And I think, you know, Marvel and Star Wars don't just come out with movies like that deal with big crossover events or time traveling elements really without building towards those kind of moments. So I think if Jonathan Entwistle can have some great interconnective stories between the kid programming, between animation and even the live action and movie stuff, maybe a great event film somewhere down the line would consist of a Shattered Grid. So I'm okay with it. I just don't know if it would be successful the first movie out of the gate. What do you think, though, Stuart?
Yeah,
Maybe you think otherwise.
I agree to an extent. I think it can work depending on how they do it. Like, I think the smartest route to go if you do a time travel storyline would be to do the J.J. Abrams reboot style, where
From Star Trek.
Yeah, where you could say like the original, like it is technically canon to the main Power Rangers timeline, but the time travel aspect caused separation between the two. So now it's the same continuity, but like a different timeline, which gives them the excuse to basically make whatever creative changes they want in their future episodes. Also, not going to lie, I totally forgot about the ending of Dino Supercharged. Thank you for reminding me about that. I agree. It was kind of crap.
Yeah, time travel is not always it's always a very interesting topic. I mean, I you know, people love a good time travel movie or series, but you know, they can be very hit or miss depending on how people execute things. So I'm always very wary of time travel. It can be fun, but it also can be disastrous.
I think let me reword it to this. Most of the time when Power Rangers does time travel, they're good about it. But yeah, there are exceptions.
Michael Rhymes does have a couple questions. It says, what do you hold on a second? What do you think of the Harley Quinn animated series and why a lot of people really enjoy it? Would you ever like an animated film? And as a segue, what are your thoughts when Birds of Prey movie was first announced? Would you ever like an animated sequel or series taking place after the film with Margot and the cast doing the voices? So, you know, I may be in the I may be in the minority here, but I kind of do want to see a Birds of Prey sequel. Maybe handled a little bit differently. I actually would like a Birds of Prey sequel, maybe even without Margot Robbie in it. I think she could definitely carry her own films, but there are definitely other Birds of Prey characters I personally would like to see, like the Renee Montoya. I would love to see all those ladies get shine and another opportunity, whether that be in another film or a spinoff of their own, but just minus Margot Robbie. I think Margot Robbie was a great sort of name to rub yourself up against and be like, hey, okay, now go out and create your own stars and movies and things like that. I think Margot Robbie could probably be in her own film if she wanted to co-star in maybe somebody like a Poison Ivy or something like that. Like I wouldn't mind seeing something along those lines. But what about you, Stuart? When you think of this, would you like to see Harley Quinn and an animated film in any way? And what do you think about the idea of another Birds of Prey movie or spinoff?
I think honestly, right now, I just want to stick with the Harley Quinn show that they got because I think it's doing really good as it is. So don't fix what isn't broken. With Birds of Prey, yeah, I wouldn't want a sequel to be animated, and I do kind of agree with you. Like, I want to see more of Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn, and I want to see more of Birds of Prey. I just don't want to see more of them together. I think it was cool that they introduced the Birds of Prey that way, but now I want them to stand alone on their own movie without Harley Quinn, and then possibly, hopefully, introduce maybe another character or two, like Oracle or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which I admit would be challenging because we got Batgirl, and I don't see her becoming Oracle anytime soon. But yeah, you know what I mean in that sense. But yeah, I would. But I don't know about I wouldn't want it to be animated. I think they did just fine as a live action. It did just fine as a live action movie. So I would like to kind of keep it that way, pretty much.
Yeah, I would definitely keep it live action too. I wouldn't turn it into an animated form. He also says, for me, sure, it was not a masterpiece. I will say I understand that the second half of the film dragged a bit, but overall, I thought it was a ton of fun. I really thought it was portrayed well, great cast, very well written. It had a fantastic soundtrack. I could have certainly done with a little more Roman, but contrary to a lot of the anger directed towards this film, I absolutely consider it a worthwhile watch. I enjoyed it. I think I've only seen the movie twice. He gives it an 8 out of 10 for him. Credit to Margot Robbie for really bringing that character to life. But yeah, definitely some things in there, Michael, I certainly agree with you about. Jericho.
I think I really liked it. My only complaint, and I still stand by this, they did Cassandra Cain dirty. Like, not that I didn't like the character that we got in the movie. Same with the actress. I thought she did great. I just think calling her Cassandra Cain was I don't know whose decision that was, but they should be fired and never be allowed to write for DC ever again, because that was not Cassandra Cain. You might as well just have like a character who's just working at a office building doing paperwork and call that person Clark Kent.
I love it. I love it. Let's see here. Jericho also says, what did you think of Will Smith's Hancock? Him basically playing a black Superman. Would you ever like to see a potential sequel? It did make money at the box office. I kind of would like to see a Will Smith Hancock too. It's not a masterpiece, but it is a movie that I definitely enjoyed. Certainly had some great laughs. It is a movie that I can kind of just throw on in the background, watch it, maybe not necessarily pay too much attention to it, but still seemingly enjoy it and get some good laughs out of it. I enjoyed the originality of the concept that they wind up having in here. Some really great moments, but yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a Hancock too. This is probably a movie we'll never get just based off of everything that's happened. But Will Smith as a superhero that's got a hot temper, actually, that might be a movie that today we need to see. So who certainly knows?
I mean, I actually really enjoy Hancock 1 a lot more than most people. In fact, it's one of those movies I always think of back when I used to go to the movies with my dad all the time. Like, that was definitely one we saw and really enjoyed together. But I think it's just a one and done movie. I really don't have a need to see any more from that character. I'm like, I liked what we got. I'm happy. I don't need any more.
I get you. I definitely get you there. Let's see here. Jackson, did you hear about Boom Studios Universe issue number 5 about the Morphin Master Teens are about to face a new threat and their own powers? If you can't talk about this today, I can save this for next week. Yeah, I haven't read about it, but his backup question is, what did you think of Tobias Whale on CW's Black Lightning and how he was considered one of, if not the best villains in the Arrowverse in a long time, and how he has been used consistently in every season until the finale? Do you wish we had more villains like him in other shows? Yeah, absolutely. I kind of do that. Wish that we do. I think Tobias Whale for me has always been one of the better CW villains that we've had, next to that of John Cryer's Lex Luthor, if you ask me. I think these two have been incredible villains. The consistency in which I just think not even Tobias Whale, but Black Lightning had over its 4 seasons was incredible to be that consistent. And I think they managed to do a fantastic job, and something that I wish the Flash was capable of doing. And I guess they do also with Earbard Thawne. The fact that they have managed to keep Tobias around without having killed him off after like a season or two, you know, like even if he's not necessarily the main bad guy, they always have Tobias Whale making a presence or having his presence felt in some way throughout that entirety in this season. And I think that just goes to showcase incredible writing. And yet there's really not that many DC Arrowverse villains that I give credit to or recognition to. But my top three easily in no order: Eobard Thawne, Tobias Whale, and good old Lex Luthor, man. I love those three as DC um, Arrowverse villains. But what did you think of Tobias Whale as for DC's Black Lightning show?
Oh, I think he's an awesome villain. And I think the one thing I'm sad about with his character now being killed off is it would have been kind of cool to have, like, if they ever wanted to bring back the Legion of Doom, because, you know, they set him up in Legends, but, you know, at the time the Arrowverse wasn't as big as it is now. It would have been really cool to see him and Lex Luthor as part of that Legion of Doom, because I think, like, the two of them could have had great chemistry of both, you know, having the same goals, but still butting heads because they have very different visions on how they get their goals. And they both think that they're the ones that should lead. Like, I feel like that's the dynamic they could have had, but we're sadly never going to see that play out.
Sadly, man. Sadly. Ibase has got some questions. He says, I saw this trending online. What do you think of Vin Diesel making a $54 million as of 2021 just by voicing the iconic talking tree Groot, and now Baby Groot in Guardians of the Galaxy by only saying, I am Groot? I mean, that's a sweet job to have. I mean, I don't know what that's like, man. It's unbelievable, but hey, make your money, Vin. Make your money.
I mean, I want to say it's easy money, but I don't know. Maybe if I were to say that to Vin, like, you know, to his face, he would give me like a big list of like everything he does to train for, you know, doing that voice. Yeah, he's like, okay, no, these are the vocal exercises I do for 3 hours before even going into the booth and saying the word I. All right, and that's just for one of them. You know, you don't want to know what I do to say am and Groot. I do so much.
I mean, you know, and these movies do make a ton of money also, you know, so it's like, I'm sure the paydays are probably even bigger than I think maybe when they initially kind of sign on the dotted line. And then, you know, on top of that, they probably get money on the back end for some of these people's deals too. So they probably just make a plethora of money on top of just their base salary already. So yeah. And some of that's probably marketing, sponsorships. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure a lot of that goes into it though. Do you feel like he deserves that huge amount of pay? Or do you think it's unfair that any other person who is an aspiring actor can do exactly the same thing if given the opportunity?
I got a hot take here that I know a lot of people are going to probably get annoyed by, but I'm going to say it anyways. Every actor is overpaid. I don't think, and I think the annoying thing about it is that it prevents other people that work in the film industry doing jobs that are equally important. They're the ones that go home with a minimum wage salary because Christian Bale needs his $10 million for his 5 minutes appearance. Appearance.
But the boom handler can't get a full hour lunch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you get like a 3-hour turnaround at work, man. Go home, get some sleep, take a shower, maybe come back all within a 2-hour period. Yeah, they make way too much money in general. Could this even apply to when the news broke out of Chris Pratt voicing Mario animated film? I mean, look, you know, I think a lot of this comes, you know, I definitely agree with you, Stuart, for sure. Like they do get overpaid. Like there are definitely plenty of people that I think we've just seen this past summer that would argue we deserve some of that pay as well. You can't fork over extra $1 million to the crew that certainly works over there. You know what I mean? Some bonuses from time to time, whatever the case may be. So I definitely agree with you. But I will also say, you know, look, people like Vin Diesel and Chris Pratt, do they get overpaid? Yes. Do I think they've earned these paydays too, though? I do. I do think that, yeah, will they take away opportunities from other people? Unfortunately, I think that's just a business. But I also think, like, name recognition does go a long way. And, you know, had they announced a Mario movie with some unknown actor to do the voice, could they make just as much money as they would had they not had Chris Pratt? Stuart, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I think the idea that they're doing that and bringing people to do voice work that has name recognition, I think they do that with the assumption that their name attached to the project is what's going to help get their movie over the hump. So while I think it is unfortunate for some inspiring voice actors, eh, you know, studios I think see dollar signs. And if you've proven to be able to have made money in the past, I think you're probably at the front of the line in regards to what have you done for me lately? You know what I'm saying? Can you make enough money for this movie to help put us over the top? And I think that's one of the reasons why they do that, though. But what do you think, though, Stuart?
Oh, 110% you're spot on. That's exactly why. Unfortunately, with a lot of actors, they're not as good at voice acting as like professional voice actors. But, professional voice actors don't usually get like the big Hollywood roles because unfortunately their names aren't as recognized as like, getting the big Hollywood actors. The Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is just one of those rare exceptions where it was really cool that they were able to get the voice actor for Tails to come in for the movie. Like that's something I definitely didn't expect, and I'm really glad they did. And then same with and then even with Knuckles, even though you had Idris Elba, one thing that I love is that it really felt like they chose Idris Elba because he actually was talented and did a really good job of voicing Knuckles, rather than just choosing Idris Elba because of the name of Idris Elba.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think who did the voice for Sonic.
What's his name? What did I forget?
Oh, Ben Schwartz.
Yeah.
Right? Is that him?
I think so, yeah.
And he's pretty recognizable. I mean, he's not like a box office success in that sense, right? But it's an actor that I think people face-wise would certainly recognize. Maybe his name, and instead of getting somebody that's just the voice actor from Sonic or somebody else, nobody, you know what I'm saying, to come in and do that. So I think even looking at something like Sonic, I think that's why Tails is a perfect person. Let's get the voice actor that plays Tails. You know what I mean? So I think that's just the case that we find ourselves in. It's just the name recognition alone helps out. Kurt has a question. He says, thoughts on the Jurassic Park movie franchise and which was the best and worst, and with the original cast returning for the latest installment, when it comes to Dominion, what do you hope is done differently and then the end on a high note if this is the last of the second trilogy? He says most often, it's like the last hurrah when the original actors return in blockbuster. I really enjoy the Jurassic Park movie franchise just as a whole, honestly. I know some movies are harder than others, but honestly, I think maybe for me, the really the worst film for me, I think, was probably Jurassic Park 3. But even then, I think maybe watching it as a whole trilogy along with the Jurassic World stuff, I think it's a movie that you can easily get by with. So I've really enjoyed what they've done with the franchise so far. I didn't really watch, was it Fallen Kingdom? Was it Fallen Kingdom? I had only seen it once, and it wasn't really that memorable for me. It is a movie I kind of want to go back and rewatch in order to prep for this upcoming movie that we're about to get. But I've liked what we've seen, and I've really enjoyed the Jurassic Park world, or the Jurassic World aspect of things in regards to trying to freshen it up a bit. But what about you, Stuart? Are you a fan of Jurassic World, and what are your thoughts with the original cast returning?
Definitely excited to see the cast back because I think that was what made the first movie so good, was a lot of the character interactions, like between Jeff Goldblum and crap, I am terrible with names, but yeah, the main guy from Jurassic Park. Plus, his chemistry with his partner, girlfriend. I don't know if they were like boyfriend, girlfriend, right? Or were they just partner?
I want to say, were they married at one point and divorced, or they were together at some point? I just know it was really awkward between the two of them. I can't remember what the situation was.
Yeah,
with Alan and Dr.
Alan, that was his name. Yeah,
Alan, Dr. Ellie Sattler.
Yeah,
Sam Neill.
But I feel like that's what worked so well in the first one, is that we got to really love these characters right before like the actual horror aspect of the movie kicked in. So I think that worked really well. I feel like that's what Jurassic Park has kind of lost over the time, is that I think Chris Pratt does a good job, but like everything about his character really just doesn't really seem like a character that was written. It felt like it was a blank slate that they expected Chris Pratt to bring to life, and he did the best that he could. But with that being said, it makes it like not very interesting for me. I wish I liked Jurassic World as much as a lot of other people do, and I've heard why people really like this movie, and I totally get why other people like it. But yeah, for me, I haven't liked the Jurassic World franchise, unfortunately, and I'm really hoping this third movie kind of turns me around on that.
Yeah, I definitely one of those people that really enjoyed Jurassic World. I mean, I think after Jurassic Park 2 and 3, it was a nice little fresh take, or I should say rejuvenation to the franchise, for me personally at least. Again, I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of the second one, but I am hoping that, just based off of the things that I've seen, especially building up to Dominion, I'm really hoping that it's in good hands. And for me, not only do I want to see the old characters return, but I am curious to kind of see how both sets of characters, new and old, what adventures they find themselves in, and how they eventually meet up, and what that interaction is really going to be like. Because I do like Chris Pratt as an actor, and I want to see how his comedic chops bounce off of somebody as serious as an Allen or a Dr. Ellie Sattler type of thing, right? Like, I do want to see how there might be clashes or some great humor that might come out of it. But as far as ranking them from like our best and worst, my worst is probably 3. My favorite still is probably Jurassic Park, though. I think Jurassic Park, probably followed by World, number 2, and then probably Fallen Kingdom, and then 3.
I'm gonna need to rewatch all of the movies before the new one comes out, and hopefully, maybe this time rewatching them all together, I might learn to like Jurassic World. I'm hoping. Like, again, this is a movie I want to like. It's not a movie that I hate because like I'm a hater. Like, I really want to like Jurassic World, so hopefully this time. But yeah, as of now, my favorite is Jurassic Park 1, of course, and then I think my least favorite. I'm gonna just say Jurassic Park 2. Just because that movie I just kind of felt was boring, which is kind of the worst crime you could do for a movie about dinosaurs.
Yeah, absolutely. Adrian Perez got a couple questions. He said, "What do you think of the ending of the new Thor trailer of Natalie Portman as the new Guardian, or as technically as the mighty Thor?" I loved it. I thought it was a great shot to go ahead and end off on, get an opportunity to see Mjolnir cracked and somehow reforged, if you will. And Natalie Portman's guns, man, is everything I needed to know about how serious she's taking this role. I was like, damn, look at that tricep. All right, I'm good. I'm sold.
I'm going to say this now. I think Love and Thunder is going to be the sexiest movie in the MCU.
Absolutely. Like, ladies, if you want to see Chris Hemsworth at its finest, this is your opportunity. Fellas, if you want to see Natalie Portman at her finest, this is your opportunity to check it out for sure. I saw some pictures of her in like these high heels and these tight jean shorts, rocking like this biker jacket sort of thing. I'm like, okay, Natalie Portman, like I see you as Jane Foster, maybe trying to show up. Like, I'm pretty sure if she crosses Chris Hemsworth as Thor's path looking like that, Thor might have some second thoughts about maybe I shouldn't have broken up this relationship.
Hey, maybe we should give this relationship thing another chance, right?
Yeah, like, damn, girl, you fighting cancer? You don't look like it, that's for sure. So we'll see what happens, but I'm pumped for it. He says, "Do you agree that there may be pushback by some people that will not think she might somehow take over?" That thinks she might somehow take over as the new Thor, even though Jane Foster becomes Mighty Thor in the comics. Fun fact, young Thor in the beginning of the trailer is Chris Hemsworth's real life son. I didn't know that. I'm assuming the guy that's running through the forest.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that, but I did like that little montage of seeing him from a kid to like his early adult stage to him as an adult. I kind of dug that sequence that we wind up having.
Same.
I'm sure there's always going to be some pushback, though. Some people that don't read the comics, just follow the movies, and are going to be outspoken about this just being a woke concept by them. I'm
Oh
like
man.
we're already rolling our eyes at the thought of this continuing to happen. That eventually will happen, but we've seen it enough. She's still a continued presence in the comic books. I think she even has a relationship with Sam Wilson's Captain America, if I'm not mistaken. Also,
Which is something
uh,
I kind of hope we see on the big screen, not gonna lie.
I kind of hope that we do too. Just a nice little different shipping here now that we've kind of gotten to a new phase of the MCU. But look, he's Thor, Odin's son. I know some people are like, well, she can't be Thor because Thor is his real name. I mean, doesn't the hammer itself say whoever wields this is now officially Thor? Like the hammer itself calls the person that wields it Thor. So I don't get the idea of her having a title, Mighty Thor. Like in the comic books, he goes by Odin's son, right? Or he's referred to as Thor, Odin's son. How do you feel about that, Stuart?
I mean, I don't mind it. I mean,
I don't mind it either.
sure, if Thor is, I mean, sure, Thor is his real name, but it's also like kind of a title that you could see being passed down as well. So I have nothing against her taking up the name of Thor at all. But okay, so the reason I rolled my eyes earlier is because I saw like it was definitely from the more kind of toxic side of the Marvel fans, but there's like this whole thing going on where people are trying to refer to the MCU as the MCU because of like different female characters, and it to me it just kind of makes me laugh because it's like that the guys still out like number them by a lot.
Yeah, man. People just recency bias. They don't do an increased critical thinking these days, unfortunately. We got J.K. Lawrence. What's up, J.K.? He says with Hayden Christensen returning as Anakin, do you think Obi-Wan will how do you think Obi-Wan will react when he meets him again a decade later since Revenge of the Sith? And if this series does very well, do you think this would redeem Revenge of the Sith, just like Andrew and Toby came in No Way Home? Their final movies were given closure. Sorry if this is a weird comparison. No, I don't think it's a weird comparison at all. So how do you think Obi-Wan will react when he meets him again a decade later from Revenge of the Sith? And do I think this will redeem Revenge of the Sith? I will tackle the last part of that real quick. I kind of feel like the prequels have already been redeemed. I feel like series like Clone Wars, Rebels, things that we're seeing now in like Mandalorian with Easter eggs and stuff. I think the debacle for some people that was the sequel trilogy has really made a lot of people look back at the prequel trilogy and say, you know what? I don't think those were that bad. I don't think that was that bad. Getting the opportunity to check it out and to see how much lore has really been built off that time. I feel like when it comes to Revenge of the Sith, if you were to ask people, what's your favorite movie out of the prequels, I think probably 75% would probably say Revenge of the Sith. I could be wrong though, but I do think that's probably the better of the prequels. So I almost think it's been redeemed already, but this will certainly go a long way to just building upon that appreciation for the prequel trilogy. Would you agree, Stuart? And how do you think Obi-Wan will react when him and Anakin meet once again?
I'll answer the first part of it first, which is that yeah, I do think that I don't even know if redemption is the right term to use, but yeah, I do think that when you look at it with the context of the Clone Wars and with the context of Episode 3 going into seeing him again, yeah, it definitely is going to please a lot of fans for sure. And I think that yeah, it'll be one of those things. It'll do the same thing for Episode 3 that the Clone Wars did for Episode 3, which is it'll give you more appreciation for what you have with Star Wars Episode 3. As for the what was the other part of the question again? Oh yeah, how Obi-Wan will react. I think he's going to be heartbroken. He'll fight Vader because he has to, but I think like inevitably, like his possible downfall if he loses this battle, because I guess we technically don't know for sure who's going to win when they confront each other again. I think it's just going to be because of a broken heart, seeing, because like last time he saw Vader, he was suffering, and now he sees the result of that suffering and what it led to him becoming, how he's become more machine than man.
Yeah, I definitely think there's going to be a lot of guilt for sure, and grief over seeing what Anakin has kind of become. Because I'm sure he definitely probably believed early on that he killed his former apprentice in Anakin. Um, so I gotta think he's probably has heard rumblings, and I mean, he's probably has seen videos of Vader and stuff, and I'm sure he definitely knows that that's his old apprentice. So seeing everything that he's done, yeah, man, I wonder if an apology is coming from Obi. I wonder if there's an Obi-Wan apologizes to Anakin. Maybe he feels some level of grief for leaving him there. Had he known, that Anakin was going to survive, maybe he could have taken better care of him, sort of thing, and helped him turn back to the side. I really have no idea, but I do expect a lot of emotions the moment that these two get the opportunity to either face off or meet each other again. Yeah, man, it's gonna be tense. It's gonna be tense
Mhm.
though. Kevin Richardson, what do you think of James Gunn's tweet about him not yet finished with the MCU and DCEU, and that he has more projects in the works that we don't know as of yet? And what would you like for him to be a part of when comes to films and TV that aren't connected to the MCU and DCU? Yeah, he has mentioned that he is in the works, especially with the DCEU for other characters. It might be from the Suicide Squad movie itself, but I'm not quite sure in regards to that. I'm sure when they're ready to um, announce it, they certainly will. So I am expecting further collaboration with him. Do you think he's going to be back in the MCU after Guardians, or do you think he's going to take a break?
I think he's going to take a break, but I don't think he's going to be done. I think that, give him another 5 or 6 years. The MCU is going to find a really goofy superhero that they want to bring to the big screen. And, when it comes to those kind of characters, who better than James Gunn?
Yeah, and as far as what would I like for him to be a part of when it comes to film and TVs that aren't connected to the MCU and DCEU, I just want to see him create something else outside of it. I would. I would like to see him tackle something else original and not utilizing characters from another company.
I, I'd like to see him go back to making not necessarily super low budget, but kind of the same budget as Slither, like kind of horror
Mm.
movies, or I guess like horror comedies, like because I feel like his horror movies are good or he does good with horror if there's a lot of comedy in it. So I'd love to see that.
Yeah, me too. Mackenzie's got a couple questions too. She says, "Hope you don't mind me asking. Since you guys have been doing video content on YouTube for a long time now, when you first started, what were some things you told yourself that you would do in order to separate yourselves from other channels? And what would you like to do better later on?" There's certainly a lot of things still that I have. My imagination is always running in regards to things I would like to change and update about it. It's really about whether or not one, my computer can handle the things that I certainly want to do, and really the idea of trying to acquire and bring people on to kind of help push us in another direction. Like, there are a couple things I've always wanted to add. Like, one, I've always wanted to learn Streamlabs a little bit. There's some grading that I've always wanted to have, just video wise, that anytime that we grade something that we're reviewing, that we could just have like a stamp or a grade that pops up on the screen type of thing. I do love the idea that we are as active with our live chat and live viewer questions, because it does allow us to have outside viewers comment and voice and have certainly their opinions heard also. I feel like that's kind of unique to other sites that kind of just do their own thing and don't really leave a voice for their viewers. So yeah, it's really the idea of just continuing to try and build the community, allow people to be hands-on, but yet at the same time, I do think that there are things that I've always wanted to do that I've never pulled the trigger on, that I do think could certainly help us get to the next level. So there's plenty of things. You say, especially with A Plus Hero Report changing within a few weeks by adding Power Rangers to the mix, more opportunities that you weren't able to experience. Yeah, and I think with us shutting down A Plus More Phenomenal, I'm hoping that this will put a much more singular focus on Hero Report, so that I don't feel so stressed to have to get things done for two separate YouTube channels. But there are definitely some things that I would like us to do a little bit more of, like maybe more movie reviews, maybe even the honorable mentions section that we do in the beginning of the show, maybe actually courting that very briefly, and throwing that maybe either in the middle of the show or at the beginning. Just new graphics, new banners, and things like that. I think all of that certainly goes a long way. So there's certainly plenty more for us to do around here at A Plus Hero Report, if you ask me.
Yeah, for me, like if I had the free time to do so, I would love to go back to doing the news flash videos that we used to do, because I thought it was like a really cool way to hype up each Hero Report episode by talking about like some of the things that we may be talking about for Hero Report without like going into too much depth, just kind of like telling you what news is going on. But yeah, it's just it sucks because like trying to manage my current work hours, which are like all over the place, while also trying to do Hero Report. It's like it's so challenging.
It's tough, man. It's tough having a life and juggling everything. Alexander does say, if Ezra Miller ends up being let go from the Flash movie and future projects, even outside of the DCEU, how do you think actors like Sasha Calle would feel if the movie doesn't get released because of Ezra's continuous actions? I'd be pissed.
Mhm.
I'd be so pissed if I was Sasha Calle if it doesn't get resolved. But that's the problem, and I think that's something that WB has to recognize, that again, having somebody as unstable as Ezra be one of the leads of a huge tentpole movie and such a big important character really puts into question the future of your franchise. And I think that's really why you got to sort of cut ties. I just think it would be a really disservice to the cast and the crew that participated in putting this movie together because of one person's actions. And that's one of the reasons why I don't want to see this movie not released, and that's why I'm kind of hoping that Warner Brothers will probably, I want them to address the Ezra Miller situation, but I have a feeling that they will just sit on this for the next year and not say anything and hope that it goes away so that they can still just release The Flash and allow it to make the money that it needs to in the theaters. But we'll see if that'll put a damper on what it makes in the box office. You also say Sasha would have to wait even a longer period of time to debut on the big screen until we get a new Supergirl movie for the DCEU. Like, would they even go to like, hey, let's just do an original movie instead of releasing The Flash? I don't know. Do you think there's a chance that this movie doesn't get released, or do you think they have to release it?
There's a chance, is all I'm going to say. I hope not. I'm pretty sure it won't happen, but there is a chance. And if that's the case, I really hope she gets a chance to debut as Supergirl, in another project, and hopefully said project isn't just an HBO Max project.
Because there's just so much on this, right? Because this also allows you to introduce Bruce Wayne into, the Michael Keaton Bruce Wayne into our current continuity. So it almost feels like this movie has to come out, or it's really going to mess up what you've sort of planned in the future. But again, we've got this merger. Maybe this is the course correction that Discovery needed to give them a reason to do something vastly different. But we'll see. Live viewer questions from AJ. He says, that 90s show update. It's been a while since you talked about that 90s show already in production. How excited are you to have a spinoff? I'm pretty excited. I know Sword has kind of warned us because we have had the 80s show that didn't do too well. So the idea of the 90s show maybe could have the same effects. But I'm kind of hoping that it does well. I'm eager for it. What about you?
I'm really excited for it more than anything. I've actually just recently been rewatching that 70s show, and
nice.
It holds up, man. Something I never noticed about it, though, is Michael Kelso in seasons 1 through 3. I feel like season 4 is where they completely forgot about this with his character. I feel like he was secretly meant to be a genius because I think he's an idiot because he chooses to be, and not because he's actually dumb. There's a lot I noticed rewatching seasons 1 through 3 where there's hints that he's actually really smart. He just chooses not to be smart.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, no, I'm really excited for that 90s show. Can't wait to see Red and Kitty back, now like raising another kid. I really look forward to like some of the, I feel like you're going to get like a lot of jokes about like okay, like one for example, I could think of like jokes about like modern times, but like in the perspective of the '90s, the idea like you could see like some of the characters smoking pot and being like, "Wouldn't it'd be great if this stuff was legal?" And then the other one being like, "Yeah, like that'll ever happen." And then I also would love the idea of Red Foreman starting to get really annoyed because the '90s is when like PC culture was first like kind of becoming a thing. So I would love the idea of Red Foreman being really pissed off from the idea of PC culture.
Yeah, I would love to see that too, especially with Red. I think he has some great conversations back and forth. Uh, you guys are you guys are so weak these days, so
Yeah.
sensitive. Yeah,
I
I
can
can
see
totally
him just being like, my son didn't threaten to put his foot in your ass enough.
yeah, for real. Some quick side notes here. Nicole says, "Hey Adam, just wanted to point out yesterday on A Plus More Phenomenal, your doorknob was moving. Could it be your son is learning to open doors already?" No, he can barely sit up straight, so he's not doing it. If anything, it was my girlfriend probably trying to get my dog to come out to eat food or something. And
Or
Gabriel
maybe
says,
your house is haunted. Who knows?
Possibly. He also says, please clarify which film is Michael Keaton making his MCU debut, Flash or Batgirl movie. The Flash movie was supposed to be his debut.
But now it's going to be Batgirl because the Flash got pushed back.
We'll see how they explain that one, but okay.
Yeah.
Carlo has a couple questions. Have you seen the 9/11 movie World Trade Center starring Nicolas Cage, Michael Pena, and others? Their character was based on the story of two actual firemen during the terrorist attack. I saw it on Netflix and it was one of the most incredible films I've ever seen, and that of Nicolas Cage. I have not seen the movie. I am very much aware of it. I have not seen it. I don't know if I was just done with 9/11 movies or I don't remember if it was too soon. I can't remember, but I veered away from it. But that was just personal preference for me. What did you check it out? Have you seen it?
Haven't seen it yet, but I mean, I don't know if it's about a fireman during 9/11. If it's based on a true story, it sounds like something I'd probably want to watch.
He also says, speaking of Cage, I saw a trailer at the movies of him portraying a high-profile actor who's not that good at making movies and wants to quit acting. Ironically, you guys talked weeks ago about how he's been a part of really bad movies. What are some of your guys' favorite movies of his and Michael Pena? Well, yeah, we did talk about Nicolas Cage over the past couple of weeks because he was mentioning the idea of how much debt he was in and the fact that he was just taking movies to pay back the debt. But to let everybody know he certainly wasn't phoning it in. And now I think we're seeing Nicolas Cage kind of come back into the limelight as he does have a brand new movie that's out starring him playing as him, which has been getting some rave reviews. That I definitely want to go ahead and see. I still think Nicolas Cage, despite the movies he's done, is probably one of the best actors in Hollywood today. So anything that he's going to be a part of, even if it's a terrible movie, he's going to certainly deliver. But The Rock, Face Off, Con Air, I mean, the list goes on in regards to things. Kick Ass, I mean, on and on. Any favorites of Nicolas Cage?
All the ones you mentioned, Into the Spider-Verse. I also really like the movie Mandy. Like, I don't know if I can call it a good movie, but it's a lot of fun. Also, okay, this isn't a good movie.
Gone in 60 Seconds. But I used to watch that on repeat all the time.
Another movie that's not good, but he's amazing in it is Willy's Wonderland. Terrible movie, but Nicolas Cage is amazing in it.
Okay.
And he doesn't even have a single line. That's the best part.
I'll definitely have to check it out. Yeah, but now Nicolas Cage has got a plethora of movies this guy has been in. I mean, we can go on and on for days naming like just recognizable movies that people would know just for name recognition alone that he's been in. So yeah, I can't wait. I do want to see his new movie.
I've never seen him phone it in. He's always balls to the wall, no matter what movie he's in.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as Michael Pena, Dora, I don't know. I didn't even see the Dora Explorer movie, but I forgot he was in Crash. Oh, I loved him in End of Watch, by the way, with Jake Gyllenhaal. I thought he was great as a police officer, as his police partner in there. I forgot he was even in Narcos also. So yeah, he's got some great stuff that he's been in, man. Let's see here. What other questions that we have? Datilla, you bring up a Wicker Man. Wicker Man was a good one also with Nicolas Cage.
I think so basically at our theater, based on what movie we have like a pre-show that'll just be kind of like something to kind of get you hyped for the movie you're about to watch, and it's usually like stuff that the actors have done before. So I had to go into theater one because that's where we keep like a lot of our licorice and stuff in the back. So every once in a while between show times, I have to go in there to grab some stuff for the bar. So I was helping someone out to get some stuff, and that's when they were playing like a clip of Wicker Man, specifically like the ending scene. And he was like, hey, what's this from? And I'm like, Wicker Man. And he's like, really? I thought that was from a comedy. It looks like it's a comedy. And I'm just kind of like, Nicolas Cage makes everything look like a comedy.
Yeah, he definitely does. He definitely does. Marcelino Vasquez, he says today's questions are the boys themed. The boys just don't just do parodies of superheroes, but they also do parodies of real life people. Cameron Coleman from VOT is Tucker Carlson from Fox News. Victoria Newman is Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, and Homelander is Donald Trump. Which real life person do you want to see parodied in next seasons or onwards?
Oh my God.
Give me a Anderson Cooper. I wouldn't mind a parody of Anderson Cooper up there.
This would be one that would work because I feel like the guy is just as in on the joke as like everyone else, even though people pretend he isn't. Dean Cain, give me a Dean Cain parody, like someone who plays Captain Homelander in a movie and he thinks he's still relevant, but he really isn't. And Dean Cain's done that, like he's played himself as an actor who thinks he's relevant, but he isn't. Like he's like, oh man, if people recognize me, you know, everyone's going to be coming around because I'm Superman, and people, and you know, you got the people around him like being like, dude, I really don't think anyone cares. So I'd love to see that in The Boys.
I like it. I like it. He also says, I have a theory that Soldier Boy could be the man who killed Mother Milk's father. In season 2, they mentioned that Mother Milk's father was killed by Vought. Mother's Milk is also the kind of person that doesn't want to be involved and just wants to retire and be with his family. So finding out that Soldier Boy is the man who killed his father would be the only way to bring him out of retirement and join the boys team. What do you think about that?
Damn, that'd be dark, but yeah, I have to agree that would definitely work. And it would feel very in line with the show because the show is not afraid to get dark at all.
Yeah, not at all. He also says, since The Boys is supposed to be a parody of real life just with superheroes, that means we don't get to see the traditional tropes like epic fight scenes that put the world at stake. I'm not saying I want The Boys to always have epic fights all the time because that would just ruin the show, but it's still disappointing because there are people with powers and we don't get to see them using their fullest potential. Your thoughts?
I mean, I feel like they're waiting for like that's something they want to wait for when the series is like coming to an end. I don't think they want to do that anytime too soon, at least not yet. But and yeah, there's also like, even though it's a really expensive show, I do think that even The Boys has to deal with budget limitations because it is still a television series.
And Nicole, yes, we said Soldier Boy, but it's Soldier Boy, not Soldier Boy, not the rapper. But yes, they very much have a very similar name. But yeah, Miles Duran, what's up, Miles? Appreciate you coming through. What are your thoughts on Netflix's series Cobra Kai? And have you seen the 4th season? What was your biggest surprise and satisfaction with the current season? I saw every season and it's incredible. 10 out of 10. I love the series. For me, I really enjoyed the characters. And it's just a series that's really easily digestible. Short seasons, but short episodes, but always impactful and fun. And I think they've got a great pulse on the characters and keeping true to the themes of the Karate Kid movie, but for a more modern time. I really enjoyed what they've done so far. But what have you thought about this season?
I've been absolutely loving it. I love that it doesn't just rely on the nostalgia from the Karate Kid movies. Like, it has it there, but it also tells its own standalone story that works in its own way really, really well. Also, speaking of Cobra Kai, I am going to eventually, I don't know which convention I'm going to do this for, but I'm eventually going to shave and cosplay as Terry Silverman because I feel like I could pull that off really well.
I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, just a slick back hair, get your ponytail going.
Yeah.
I love it. No mercy, bro. No mercy.
No mercy.
What was your biggest surprise I think for me, out of this season, my biggest surprise was how much Daniel's kids are dicks. Uh, I didn't expect them to turn into assholes by the end of this season, but God, I cannot stand them all of a sudden. That's probably my biggest surprise. I didn't see that swerve coming.
Yeah, the moment that Daniel finally yelled at his son, that was a very satisfying moment for me. He needed that. And yeah, the kid needs some Cobra Kai in him because Daniel's been a little too soft. And I mean, as for his daughter, like, yeah, they definitely made her a lot more of a bitch in this season, but I also don't think it came out of nowhere. I think everything, like, it's so weird. The characters are constantly switching season after season, like from being a good person to being a bad person. But like, I feel like the way it gets set up like that, it always makes so sense. And I think it's a great message for kids. Like, you know, the fact that your actions have like more than just, you know, that not only do your actions like of you know, being negative towards negative other people, like, is it not good to begin with? But it's like you're then going to turn them into like a worse person, and then that anger will be spread. And you know, it's like, yeah, it's a disease. Essentially, bullying is like a disease because bullies create more bullies. And I think that's like the big overall message that Cobra Kai is really trying to teach us. And the thing that sucks so much about it is that it's hard to fight back against bullies without becoming a bully yourself. And I think that's the theme they explore so well in this show.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with everything that you said there, Stuart. I was just saying, it definitely was a surprise to kind of see that change, like going into season 4 and how it ended. Yeah, that definitely was not a swerve I was certainly expecting, but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right in that regards. And then last sets of questions here. This is just from good old Doomsday, as always. When do we get Tom Holland Spider-Man 4? Do you think it will still be in the MCU, seeing as no one remembers who Peter is by the end of No Way Home? Yes, I do think it will certainly still be in the MCU, and I think that's what's going to be so fascinating about it, is the fact that now nobody knows who his identity is, yet somehow we got this kid on our team. So, oh, Spider-Man, that's right. We have no idea who you are, but thanks for joining. When do we think we're going to get a Spider-Man 4, Stuart? Any ideas?
I have no idea when it's going to happen, but I do know that we are definitely going to be getting it sometime soon, and I am pretty sure they're going to keep it within the MCU. That said, I'm not going to lie, I'm also not in a hurry for Spider-Man 4 because I thought No Way Home was so perfect the way it ended, to where it's like, yeah, I can wait now. I'm kind of satisfied where the Spider-Man franchise is now, or sorry, where the Tom Holland Spider-Man franchise is now. So I'm good for a minute, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. If anything, I'm really enjoying the introduction to brand new characters in here. Moon Knight, we're going to be having Miss Marvel here rather soon, and a whole plethora of other brand new people brought into the MCU. So yeah, do your best about growing and building them, laying down the groundwork, especially since we've gotten our trilogy from Spider-Man. And then if Tom Holland wants to pop up wherever he wants to before we get ourselves another Spider-Man movie, I'm okay. Like, I'm okay if I don't see another Spider-Man movie for another 2-3 years, to be honest with you. I think the fact that we've gotten the trilogy out of the way, I'm really thrilled with what we wind up getting. So yeah, I think it's some time for some other people to shine. So give me, I'd say about 2024, 2025, we'll get another Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think other than that, I think that's going to do it for us. I know Gabriel did have a question with some pictures in regards to the Flash set photos. I will go ahead and talk about that next week. I'll go ahead and save it. So if anything, maybe Indy will be here and you guys can really deep dive into it. But remember, guys, going forward, when it comes to live viewer questions, while you can submit questions over at any particular time during the week, please just send one set of live viewer questions so that we have the opportunity to allow everybody to submit questions and get the opportunity to focus on other people's questions too and give them some shine on the show. So you can still submit 1 to 3 questions in email if you'd like. Doesn't always have to be 3, whatever is just certainly on your mind, but 1 email per week, ladies and gentlemen, because we are continuing to grow around here. We don't need 4-hour long episodes. So yeah, but anyway, guys, hey, listen, thank you for your participation. Thank you for all your fantastic questions and allowing us to deep dive in some fantastic topics here this week. But I think that's going to wrap up this week's show. We certainly will be back next weekend. Hopefully, we'll have ourselves in a full house here, if you will. But Stuart, if people want to reach out to you on social media, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 on Twitter, where I post just random, what I think are kind of funny tweets, but probably aren't as funny as they sound in my head. But yeah, you guys can follow me there, and I'll keep you guys updated if I have any more video projects coming on my other channel, Turbo Studios.
Fantastic, man. And guys, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so right up here at A Plus Opinions. Very active over on Twitter as well as Instagram and our main hub, which is in fact Facebook. So definitely go ahead and follow us over there as well. If you're not joining us over on our Discord forum community, please go ahead and do so. There is a link in the description box below. It's a great forum site for us to go ahead and talk a plethora of other topics outside of us here at A Plus Hero Report or More Phenomenal, and a way for you to go ahead and communicate with us outside of our weekly shows on YouTube. So definitely go ahead and check us out there as well. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, guys. We got some big changes certainly coming here within the next month or so. So hit that bell notification along with that big thumbs up. That like button really does go a long way. But that's going to do it for us here. We'll certainly see you guys next weekend. Join us next Sunday at noon Central Time live. But until then, do us a big favor as always, guys. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.